and Schaefer. Happer and Schaefer. Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike. Yeah. Happer and Schaefer. Happer and Schaefer. Happer and Schaefer. It's Connor and Mike.
Good morning and welcome in. Happy Monday. It is Happer and Schaefer here on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, The Zone mobile app, The Zone radio network. I'm Connor Happer alongside Mike Schaefer and Joey Warcola. Joey, happy birthday.
Thank you, Connor.
Happy birthday and happy 100th anniversary. Well, anniversary
100th
strong. 100th show to us.
We have done it.
Thank you, Joey. I would never have known about this if you didn't tell us 100 times.
Did you guys happen to see the thumbnail I made for this show?
I did. I saw it. Put it back up if you're if you're watching along on YouTube with us right now.
There's just a lot happening in here.
I'm glad that there is a dumpster. There is the presence of a dumpster on your for the 100th show, and I'm glad that Nick Grimm is not in it. He's behind it.
Yeah, he's just walking by saying, "What the hell?"
Also, what's
doing?
your deal with Interstate 80?
I don't know.
You got problems?
I got problems. People drive bad on that road.
They do. People drive bad on most roads.
On most. Well, yeah, you got a few little references in there. You got Richard Bisaccia in the dumpster.
Uh-huh.
You got California Pizza Kitchen.
Yeah,
and then the dumpster's owned by your soon-to-be Indiana Bears.
Hammond, Indiana Bears.
Then I was able to clip a Viking helmet on Schaefer.
Yeah, that looks great.
wonderful.
With my
I thought he was actually wearing that.
No.
Honestly,
No. I cropped up
did not happen, but it could have. I mean, it looks very good.
I know it really does. I actually thought he was kind of wearing.
And then you get the rant gong appearance in the graphic.
We don't have anything special planned for the show today, except for
it's just a celebration.
Except for fun Joey graphics and a funeral of sorts to the Nebraska baseball and softball season.
The car crash.
You were down to track is the last thing still happening for Nebraska.
There's still some track going.
The track and field championships, I think, is where it all ends for Nebraska athletics.
Well, I don't know what to expect there, so it's hard. For me
I
to
don't
be
have anything
excited
other than that exists.
It's hard for me to be excited or disappointed in that regard. And here we are. As Nebraska baseball and softball failed to make it to June throughout the weekend, but here we are on June 1, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Schaefer is here. He looks like he's ready to go play golf today. Is this true?
I will be golfing today. The Midland University booster outing fundraising.
Are you a Midland booster?
I am not a Midland
Are
booster.
you calling the shots at Midland?
I am not calling the shots at Midland.
Okay, all right.
I was just asked to participate, and I chose to say yes, and here we are.
I think it's a smart choice by you.
Today at the Fremont Golf Club. If you're playing, come say hi.
Wow, look at that. Say hi to Mike Schaefer. All right, so coming up today on the show, we have many, many things to talk about. The emergence of college baseball. I love this day every year because everybody's like, damn, I kind of love college baseball. It's a lot.
Weekend.
It's a lot of fun. And then it lasts for exactly 3 weeks. What? 3 weeks? 3 weeks from today is game 3 of the finals. No, 4 weeks from today is game 3 of the finals.
4 weeks.
Yep. 4 weeks from today is game 3 of the College World Series finals, which we may or may not have. And so for the next 4 weeks, people are like, yeah, I kind of.
Oh, wait, maybe 3 weeks.
I will at the very least. No, I actually think it is 3.
It's on the 22nd. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because we start on the 12th.
Which it's weird because Father's Day is the second Sunday of this year.
That does feel weird.
So odd to me. But anyway, you will either tolerate college baseball unless you're Tom Fornelli, I guess. Did you see the Tom Fornelli stuff this weekend?
He did something dumb?
Well, he just...
I think he's kind of a big put his foot in his mouth guy. At least from my vantage point.
Interesting.
Very sort of dumb take.
He
from a guy that I don't think is a dumb person.
No.
But he tends to just do this.
he felt the necessity to be like, hey, college baseball, just something I can't really do. And it was
You
probably
can just keep that inside.
yeah. His audience is a lot of college sports fans and college baseball fans in particular, and he was just like, I don't think this one's for me. I could get into a lot of other stuff, but not this one. He
So he
said,
participated in outrage engagement, basically.
this weekend I have watched college baseball regionals and the Women's College World Series to try new things. For me, softball is the superior product. Maybe it's because it's later and the weaker teams have been eliminated, but it's far more enjoyable to watch. And then he followed up with a couple people in the comments, and it was just like, yeah, the quality of the product isn't good enough, basically, for me to be able to watch.
Yeah, like
Which
I
famously
disagree.
Famously, college football, the people that people love like Maction. It's terrible every single week. You're just like, I can't wait for Maction.
They're terrible.
Yeah, I don't know that it's for me the quality of the product is not even remotely the allure.
It's just
in
a
both
classic.
cases, it's the drama.
It's just a classic football guy take.
Well,
it was just like I gotta make everything football, and here it is. Baseball is not going to be football.
There was some football-esque scores throughout the
There was.
regional lands.
We thought they ended cupcake weeks in the SEC, but sure enough,
No, they found them.
Alabama had a final score.
Well, there were some
football.
There were some folks who were on the receiving end of this
Yeah.
that were, that did not receive it from SEC schools. They received it from the Big East.
Welcome to the Big East.
21 runs for St. John's to put themselves in the regional finals. Are you kidding me?
Honk!
They have to play a baseball game today and potentially two.
Yeah.
So we will talk about all that happened this weekend and the sport of college baseball. Also, how Nebraska's season comes to an end without a trip to the Lincoln Regional Final. Our man of the weekend is coming as well. Tim Verghese and Michael Bruns. Once again, we said this every week, but just tremendous guests on a Monday.
Yeah,
it's perfect. There's always recruiting stuff, and at this point, there's always college baseball. So these are the perfect two people to have on, and that is our lineup today. We want to hear from you all. 402-951-1620 on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at us at HappenSchafe, at Connor Happer, at Mike J. Schaefer on the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. You can email Connor, Mike, or Joey at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to our YouTube streamers today.
Good morning,
morning.
YouTube streamers.
Derek writes in on YouTube. He says, is the new intro recorded in a bathroom or a broom closet? My guess would be, Derek, that you listened on the stream, and sometimes it doesn't always come through loud and clear on the stream because it gets recorded off of a different thing. But
you'll hear the clear version on our radio replay.
If you want to hear the beautiful, crystal clear, excellently produced version, you could either listen on the radio replays or listen live on the radio or on the app. Those are options that are available.
Go into your car and turn on 1620 The Zone, and you'll be able to listen.
That's what I would say.
Right at 6 a.m.
And tell your friends. 1620 The Zone is here. And
drive around the metro, blare it on your radio station, roll down your windows so everybody in Omaha can hear it.
And there are two shows that use fun and cool songs, and then Matt does his own thing with a bunch of drops. It is
a lot of drops. A lot of drops.
I believe he has a song that has been prepared for him, and he has chosen to go with his drop song.
Yeah, I
like a drop song. I can't lie. All right, so that is all coming up on the show today. We also have to talk about, from a football perspective, we could talk about Trae Taylor and his tremendous weekend.
Yep, big weekend for him.
He is now quarterback one, I think.
That is very, very possible.
He is QB1 in the 2027 class.
We'll see how the ratings bear things out, but there'll be a lot of Nebraska Trae Taylor talk throughout the recruiting landscape, if you would.
Count your days. 6 more months.
Yeah.
6 more months until Trae Taylor can sign anywhere. And every day is going to be like driving on a very dangerous mountainous road, I think, for people.
You're on the Silver Dollar Highway.
whatever it is,
whatever it's called in Colorado.
you would know, Joey. It's something without guardrails. That's if you want to handle it that way.
Yeah.
If you don't,
Which
I choose not to.
meanwhile, quarterback one will be playing his football here in Nebraska for Millard South this year.
$1 million highway.
So that is happening as well as this all will be going on in the backdrop of what will be a massive Nebraska football season.
Yep.
You know, with potential future ramifications.
This road is like the high wire act of, and you all are the flying.
You got to say they keep it
Walendas.
interesting at the very least. There's always an added element to everything that happens around.
There's always something going on in the background.
Yeah,
there really is.
It's truly remarkable in a way.
Now this will be, once the football actually comes around, this will definitely be going on more in the background.
Yeah,
but if
it'll
goes
be pretty quiet, though, he's going to be a fixture for their visit weekends and everything they have coming up here.
Yeah,
I'm sure Tim will have plenty to say on that as well.
So we will talk to Tim coming up at 8:30 today. Nebraska softball. Now I saw there was some discussion about this, Joe. You're going to have to keep me aware of what happened with this. People have an issue with the term car crash.
Apparently, I've browsed through Twitter. I didn't watch the games yesterday, but I saw Josh.
You were watching tennis.
Yes, I was watching tennis.
You were all tennised up.
Yeah, there was a great game between the Brazilian and the Norwegian that went to 4-6. I'm not going to try pronouncing the names.
I don't blame you.
But it was a great four-setter. The Brazilian won that game 3-1.
Oh, shout out to Brazil.
Yeah, they have someone in the quarterfinals in the Roland Garros tournament, first time since
Fonseca?
2004. Yeah, Fonseca.
Okay, all right. Antonio.
He defeated Djokovic in, I think, the third round.
Makes him a hero.
We got any Americans?
TFO's left in the tournament. There might be another one that's unranked.
He's playing currently and down 2 sets.
Oh boy.
Americans
Against a Spaniard, I'm assuming.
And then I assume Joey.
No, an Italian.
Okay, yeah. I got them mixed up.
And then I assume, Joey, that you watched all of Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals.
Funny story. I fell asleep during the fourth quarter, so I missed that part. Because I had a few.
Was it the fourth quarter or like 9 on a Saturday?
I had
a couple old fashions.
I had a few old fashions. I was trying to watch the fourth quarter that I passed out.
Happy birthday.
I was so mad that I missed the ending of that game because I was assuming the Thunder was going to find a way to win that game, but I believe in my San Antonio Spurs.
Your San Antonio Spurs, who you have adopted for no shortage of reasons.
I've adopted them for the NBA Finals. I'm rooting for my beloved Man of the Weekend candidate, Luke Cornett, former Celtic, avenging the Jason Tatum catastrophe at MSG last year.
Unbelievable. Joey's on a completely different planet than we are, Schaefer.
Joey is so Celtics pilled.
We cannot afford to have a New York Knicks NBA title. The city would go up in flames if that were to happen.
Don't you want New York City to, suffer some sort of...
I'm worrying.
We have you who very much wants this for New York City
for
Madison Square Garden.
I want to see all the videos.
I don't want
this as a massive disaster for the sport. And then we have me who's just kind of like, if it's on the television, I will watch it. But
I want to see
you'll be wearing the generic NBA hat watching the game.
Yeah.
I want to see all the videos of the people on
good.
the street who, outside of Penn Station or who are inside of Penn. I want to see it.
I will say this is a good setup for the series. I think this is going to be a great NBA Finals.
I think there's 5 starters on, combine each of the 2 teams who are from the Big East.
Yeah, that's the other
aspect. That is true. Three of them on Villanova.
The planet that Joey lives on is through the Celtics. Everything's the Big East. And then you're like, what do you mean?
I'm not a Big East.
What you're talking about?
I watched a lot of my favorite college baseball team, the St. John's Red Storm.
This is a big day for you of a potential for 2 Red Storms.
Hey, we had some predictions about the NCAA tournament on Friday, and there was a lot of things that we sort of said, hey, look out for, and they came to fruition.
Yeah.
So nice job by us. So that is
we were all over St. John's as the 4. Neither of us had Little Rock, I guess, which they had pushed. Was it LSU.
Went to the regional final last year. Yeah.
And so now they're in they will have a super regional. I forget, it's the 8-9. So I forget who the 8 is. That
Florida or Troy.
Then, Troy. So who put it on Florida last night?
Yeah, this is weird. We also have a Cal Poly super regional.
Yeah, that is.
Yes.
That one is bonkers. And then, we'll talk West Virginia.
But it goes back to one of my predictions, which was I just couldn't shake it.
Yeah, you were all over that.
I couldn't shake it. UCLA, watch out.
I had them losing in the supers, but
yeah, I got to be honest with you. I didn't see them coming down to their last out to go 2-Q at home. But then they ended up winning a game and then losing the next one anyway. Played with a little bit too much fire this weekend, did UCLA. We have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams out of the super regional, and we have 7 spots left to claim.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So we will get a full preview on what is to come today in Game 7 of our regionals, and like I said, we would love to hear from you all as well. We'd also talk about when umpires should throw people out of games. That'll come up today, and the coronation of Victor Wembanyama, much to Joey Warcola's pleasure, I think, from over the weekend.
Yes,
very, very excited about all those things.
He hopes he's the king of New York.
Off and running on a Monday. Glad you're with us. We are back after this on 1620 The Zone.
Good luck with that, Dan. Stop.
You're going to want to listen to this show this week because not only will you have shows 100, 101, 102, 103, and 104, you will also have that many opportunities, 5, to win a $50 gift certificate to 72 Table and Tap, which does happen to be this week's half off deal, by the way, which goes on sale Friday at 9 at 1620thezone.com. $50 gift certificate for just $25. Plenty of stuff going on at 72 Table and Tap, the neighborhood bar welcoming you to eat, drink, gather, and repeat. Indulge in some smoked wings or a goldfish breaded pork tenderloin, ladies and gentlemen. You could find more details online at 1620thezone.com. But yes, stay tuned this week. 2 $25 gift vouchers that are just going to be combined into one, and we'll call it 50, and we'll give it to you 5 separate times this week on Happer and Schaefer. People are saying that regional weekend is one of the best weekends in sports now. They come to this realization every year, and it feels like more and more people do. They're like, actually, I think this is awesome. There's a lot of folks out there, and maybe it gets into the core of the maybe the core of the issue is partly this. There's other areas of college sports which don't exactly seem that pure anymore and have been or been mangled so much and changed so much that it doesn't feel like it was the same thing that it did when you were 8 years old or when you were 15 years old or something like that. This, in general, although there have been plenty of changes through the sport of college baseball, it's been the same format, exact same format of the NCAA tournament since 1999. And it delivers basically every single year. And it still delivers, even though there is, the gap has widened between the haves and the have-nots in college baseball a little bit as well. But it still continues to deliver. Now you do have to deal with some football scores occasionally. There's some 21 to 4s that are sitting out there. There's some 16 to 2s.
Charm, though.
I kind of think so too. And there was also some folks. Maybe we could spend a minute or two on this, Schaefer. What do you think about this idea of a mercy rule?
So in my head, for some reason, despite knowing better, but in my head, for some reason, going into Friday, I was thinking that there was a mercy rule, and then very quickly, one of the early games, I don't remember if it was Georgia putting it on somebody or
it was probably Georgia Tech.
Oh yeah,
it was
Georgia Tech, like very early in the day on Friday.
It's 22 to 5.
Like, oh, poor Illinois, Chicago.
Yep.
Like they could use this to be but
Texas also beat Holy Cross 19 to 1.
There's a part of me that's kind of fine with this because, again, some of it is getting I don't know what the analogy is, but you want to get the thing home. If you're the team winning without giving up too many more runs, or Auburn was playing NC State and they jump out to this like 11-0 lead, and then NC State starts chipping away, and then it's an elimination game. And so then Auburn has to throw everyone they have to keep it.
100%.
They then have to turn around and beat UCF, which they do. And then last night they end up beating Wisconsin-Milwaukee for the first game of they'll play their last regional final here. But it forces them to use so many more pitchers, which then creates strategy conversations.
I agree.
The rest of the way. That's what mattered about Nebraska for the Ole Miss Arizona State games.
And so
everything else.
So what you end up getting into is actually is some of what has, I think, poisoned college athletics. Like we have changed a lot of college athletics, whether it be football and men's basketball, to be more like a television product and to cater toward it as a television product. Admittedly, in college baseball, a 21-2 game is not a great television product. It's not. People are not going to watch that on television.
But when there's dozens of games,
that helps.
That saves you.
That helps. But, there's only, if ESPN owns the tournament, which they do, there's only a couple opportunities to put games on linear television. And if you get a bad one, people are just going to tune away from it. And so what we've done in some of the other sports is made it less likely that happens, or put mercy rules, or whatever it might be. And in this sport, there's this thing that happens where people are like, man, we need to put a mercy rule. And I know it's really, really annoying for broadcasters. It's frankly really, really annoying for everybody to have these games that are like 17 run games, and you're just trying to get to the end of the end of the line here. But it is, like you said, Schaefer, for the reasons that you just explained, there's a strategy in there that I think is really, really fascinating and that you have to manage well. And if you don't have enough pitchers, then it's going to affect you for the next game. I was thinking about a 4-team regional tournament, and everyone comments on this weekend every year, oh my God, it's perfect. Like, don't touch the regional format, like, at all, with the possible exception of the flipping of the home teams for the, if a 3 wins in the winner's bracket game and they get to be the home team. It's sort of odd.
I was trying to explain that to Shelby, and she's like, I think I forget about it every year, and then I get mad about it every year.
It's
like,
so quirky. It's so unique. It's so odd. But I was saying, like, the pressure of playing in so obviously there's the first game. You have to win the first game. Everyone always says you have to win the first game. It's impossible to go back through the loser's bracket. If you do fall into the loser's bracket and you're in the 0-1 game, you literally have to win that game. In the 1-0 game, you feel like there's pressure, and you feel like you have to win that game, because if you're the 2-0 team, it's such a massive advantage, especially if you're a team like Wisconsin, Milwaukee, or St. John's or something like that. Oh my God, there's no way they're going to beat.
You play one less game. That's one less, time in which you have to bring somebody out of the bullpen or start somebody, or
there's no way they're going to beat Florida State twice, and there's no way that Milwaukee is going to beat Auburn twice, right? They're just beating them once is the best
back-to-back days.
Well, back-to-back days, yeah, right, because they already obviously have.
They won on Friday.
Beat them once, and then the 1-1 game is literally an elimination game. Like, so there is the pressure of basically do or die, or very close to do or die, in every single regional game that happens, which is really, really cool, and it's very, very unique for baseball. And it's the same thing in Super Regional Weekend. It's the same thing in the College World Series. Like in Major League Baseball, we've created that a little bit in the wild card round and in the DS, but it doesn't happen that way until you get to the late in the CS or late in the World Series. You feel like you always have some wiggle room there. And in college baseball, there just is none, and that creates a vast variety of scenarios that could happen, like a team who just doesn't have it that day, and all of a sudden they're in a big hole, or whatever it might be. It's a great product. It's a tremendous product.
And it ends with a day like today, where you get all of these games where winner moves on, and it creates a ton of drama, and
nobody has everybody's working on either their 40th pitcher or their first pitcher coming back on extremely short rest. This is the day, by the way, that I hate every year, because today's the day we start having arm conversations. I hate the arm conversations.
You just mute them and you move on.
No arm talk today.
Yeah, well, without looking into it too deeply, I don't know that there's anybody from like a Major League Baseball draft perspective high on the board. Jackson, Florida would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
Had UC Santa Barbara held on last night when they led against Texas, to see if they would have tried to bring him in for 3 innings or something. What would have been like a normal bullpen day for him, though he did start on Saturday instead of Friday. I mean, another great thing about the whole regional aspect is all of the strategy that goes into everything that you're doing. And then if you're, USC and you're UC Santa Barbara, and you clearly have an ace, like you have one of the best 4 pitchers in college baseball, and you think, well, we're saving that guy for Saturday, and then you lose on Friday, and it
happens every year to like 2 teams,
and
it's
you're
amazing.
pitching them against Holy Cross, like Jackson, Florida against Holy Cross is.
Coastal did it this weekend too.
Yeah,
with Cam Flukie, they held him to the second game, and they ended up playing Florida State.
And they get Florida State
in the elimination game.
But then their game gets suspended, so you don't get him for the duration of it as it is anyway. So it's just like it's just the strategy, everything that goes into it. It's such a fun weekend. The output is so unpredictable. And then you and I were texting last night after 10 o'clock, like
I couldn't shut it off.
That's happening. This guy from Florida State that had spent 4 years as a pitcher, that they just turned into a hitter, as one of the hottest hitters on the planet, just hits a 2-run homer.
I could not turn it off.
It was like nuts.
It is impossible to turn off. There was 4 games, deep into the night last night after 10 o'clock, that were in the 8th inning or later and tied.
Yep.
All happening at the same time.
Alabama and Oklahoma State, Oregon and Oregon State.
Yep.
Little
Rock
and Jacksonville State.
And there was
remember who the fourth game was. And then you had Auburn and Wisconsin Milwaukee started at like 9:30.
Correct. Yeah.
So
and then Florida State and Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
What's the other? They got a big home run late. So
Ben Barrett.
Crazy stuff. So that doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. The number 1 overall seed needs a 9th inning comeback to survive going 2-Q in their home field in the regional weekend, and then doesn't even make it to the regional final anyway, losing in a walk-off to St. Mary's.
It was played between St. Mary's and Cal Poly.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
We have a Jacksonville State Little Rock. We had a Jacksonville State Little Rock regional final in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Milwaukee was in the driver's seat in Auburn, and now they play a decisive Game 7 today. St. John's is in the driver's seat in Tallahassee. And really the only, if you look across the board, Georgia, North Carolina, even Texas had their issues a little bit this weekend in some close games, but those are kind of the only ones. I guess Mississippi State kind of ran through a little bit.
Yeah.
Oregon ran through a little bit. Alabama ended up, coming up ahead at the end. Kansas, give credit to Kansas, who I played in a couple tight games this weekend, but did end up beating Arkansas soundly last night. Those were the only teams that really calmly, cool, and collected made their way through the regional weekend and are on to the supers. Everything else is either very much up for grabs or has already been completely derailed from the weekend in college baseball, which is just awesome.
Yeah, that's what you want. It's absolutely what you want. And you get moments, yesterday where Kentucky, which was one of the last teams in the field, was in the driver's seat in the Morgantown regional. And they're up big going into the final inning of that game that clinches a spot in the super regional for them, in which they will host because they're matched up with Cal Poly and then St. Mary's, which were still playing at the time. And you get a 5-run 9th inning from West Virginia, which that place was absolutely
bonkers,
electric.
Yeah. You want to talk about draft guys, the 27 draft, the number 1 pick was their guy, Gavin Kelly.
Yep. He had the sac fly, and then the 2-run homer that followed gave them a 11-9 lead that they would hold on to. That'll be a big game today. I find myself rooting for West Virginia.
Absolutely.
In that, I want him in Omaha.
Now that we officially have a Connor World Series. Yeah. Now that we officially have a Connor World Series, thank you for
joining. I didn't lead with that. But and we're at the point now where I'm like pre-selecting the teams that I want in the College World Series. And so West Virginia is very much one of those. Now, if it ends up being Cal Poly, I'd be okay with that too. But
it's a win-win for you.
Yeah. Kentucky, I just need out.
Yeah.
I really would prefer for Wisconsin Milwaukee to beat Auburn.
Me too.
As well. Like, I don't like the idea of Auburn coming all the way back through this thing.
I don't either, but
similar with Florida State, I kind of need to see St. John's.
They were sort of identified right after that loss of like, ooh, they could probably do it. If
I didn't feel good about.
Yeah.
Well, I thought the best chance was NC State right away in that elimination game, and then they put up like an 11 spot in the second inning, and it kind of was like, okay, I don't know that anyone's going to.
Well, and then when Milwaukee becomes the 2-0 team, that probably concerns you a little bit as well. As like, ooh, they can be had in 2 games in a row, and here we are.
Though I will say they're hitting before last night started. The late game last night, Wisconsin-Milwaukee took it to Auburn, then they took it to UCF, and that ballpark is just a
bandbox.
Yeah. I was going to say disaster. I mean, just like a weird. That's the other thing that happens regional weekends. You discover all of these different ballparks and how weird they look.
Yeah.
And it just reminds me over and over. Like Haymarket Park, for all of its faults, looks good on TV.
It looks incredible on TV.
Alabama's stadium looks terrible on TV.
Yeah, because they have this stupid giant brick wall behind home plate.
It looks like you have people fighting in a pit.
Yeah.
Like that's where they
need to do something about that. It's the same thing with the Bosch in North Carolina.
Worse than the wall was their jerseys last night.
Those were bad. We love and support the troops, but those camo jerseys were terrible. They were terrible.
They're terrible.
It's the same thing. Everybody needs to figure this out. you have to get the backdrop at home plate right.
Yeah.
From like set a camera out there and go to what your broadcast angle is going to be and tell me if it looks good. And that's how you're presenting yourself for about 82% of every single game. Alabama's looks awful. North Carolina's looks awful.
Yep.
They both have the same thing. It's just a giant brick wall behind home plate. You can figure something out. Kansas looks terrible. Kansas is going to do a lot of different things now. I think that they're a real baseball program.
Sure.
Maybe one of the first things that they have to do is get a ballpark that is normal. They were getting drugged this weekend by Arkansas fans. It was like, obviously they beat them on the field, so they have the last laugh, but it's like your guys' park is a dump.
Yeah. No, it is.
But they embrace the dump.
Sure.
They embrace it. They get all the kids out there and they start jumping and screaming. They're all talking about hogs.
You are what you are, and they play in a dump, but they win in their dump.
They win in their dump.
They're the king of their dump.
And now they will potentially have a second weekend of their dump this weekend against Oklahoma. That would take a Sooner win today against Georgia Tech.
My preference would be to see Georgia Tech, Kansas. I think that would be a fun.
Me too. But I do like the chaos theory. I like the chaos. I think that's a win-win situation. Georgia, Oklahoma is a win-win because Georgia Tech being in the College World Series would be a win for the College World Series.
But I think this Kansas team has had really an up and down last few weeks. Like they're riding high right now.
Oh yeah, they're that's a pretty good ball team. So I heard that they were also planning on doing some capital investments for Dan Fitzgerald and the boys down there. So that's good. Maybe they can check their home plate angle and or maybe build a real grandstand. Like I don't know. I don't know where you start with that place. You see what they tried to do with their backyard this weekend?
With the discussion of it, or like what they actually did?
What they actually did.
No, I did not.
They basically just plowed a couple trees out and like it's just beyond the left field wall, and they just said, come sit here. Like they didn't do anything.
So one of the Kansas reporters, Michael Swain, I follow him still from when I worked at 24/7 Sports. And he was like tweeting about the backyard. He's like, did anybody sit back there? What was that like?
They did. I mean,
I was like, what is he talking? Because I didn't see it, but okay, that explains.
They were just like, yeah, you guys can come sit back here now. And they were like, okay. Sounds good to me. We don't really know how to do this. It was cool. That's the other thing you get with the regional weekend too. You get a lot of places who just don't know what they're doing and like never hosted an NCAA event before. And yeah, I saw that it was another year that went by and Kevin Schnall wasn't happy about how our regional was handled. Be on the lookout for him today. He might end up being the head coach at South Carolina.
Oh,
we'll see. We will see about that. Okay. Be on the lookout for a lot of things today.
Speaking of head coaches.
Yeah, looks like Omaha has their new coach.
Yeah,
as well, reportedly. I saw it from Kendall Rogers first, and then Gary with the World Herald followed it up. He says Rob Fournier is the new Omaha baseball head coach. He was with Mark Rardin at Western Kentucky, also with him at Iowa Western. So ties to the area, things like that. It seems like this is a home run.
Yeah,
for UNL. Which is tremendous.
Whenever it fits kind of what you were expecting.
Excited to see where they go. Matt writes in, by the way, on Twitter before we get to our man of the weekend on the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. He said, would Kansas be the most hated team in Omaha this year? Unlikable team. So I was thinking about that over the weekend at what Omaha would do with Kansas if they ended up getting here. I think there's enough Kansas like flavor here where, it would be at the very least mixed, but they are quite rambunctious. It's a rambunctious group, I would call them, the rambunctious boys. I think they'd be received ultimately pretty well, just because they've never been here, and then there's the local flavor that comes along with it.
It's hard to say they would be more hated than like if Texas shows up again.
But people love Texas here too. Like people have adopted Texas over the years. People have adopted Arkansas over the years. People have adopted Oregon State. TCU, like teams like that. People have definitely adopted Texas over the years. Kansas would be an interesting watch if they end up here, but ultimately, if it's Georgia Tech against them, I don't know about their chances too. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. Our man of the weekend. Mine comes from college baseball and the surrounding elements.
Same.
Joey, probably not.
It's going to be basketball.
Back after this on 1620 The Zone. our man of the weekend. Let's get to your men of the weekend first. Here's Joel. My men/women of the weekend are the event staff and concession workers at Haymarket Park who had to sit around during a rain delay waiting on ESPN to make an official call. How long did that go? Because I just like when they turned it off, like when they pulled the tarp out, I was like, oh, they're done. They're not coming back anymore. And I just shut it off for the rest of the night.
I don't think they announced anything until after 11:30. So probably about an hour and a half.
Yeah, good job by those concession
maybe
workers.
2 hours, maybe about 2 hours.
I'm sorry you were held hostage by the decision making, but so that's a good one. Also, Pesky Blues Debo writes in man of the weekend, London Dada. He committed to Creighton.
Yeah, I saw that.
An Omaha man, a Omaha West Side Warrior.
All aboard the Husk bus.
All aboard the Husk bus, I suppose they're going with. Okay. All right, now we get to our men of the weekend or people of the weekend. Anybody want to volunteer?
Sure, I can go first. I am giving my man or men of the weekend award to college baseball umpires. So you can specifically tailor this to like at Haymarket Park because this is more of where I'm going with it. So many calls were challenged and then ultimately just came back as either call stands or confirmed. So I thought
that's usually how it goes, by the way.
Relatively strong weekend relative to the amount of times that players were running around on the field making the headset motion.
They love doing
and
the
then
headset
would be
motion.
Completely and utterly wrong.
I've seen the headset motion work its way into like high school baseball where replay doesn't even exist. I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, no, that's not great. But then I was wondering.
So are you shouting out Angel Campos?
Sure. I mean, he was part of the crew. Like, nothing, at least to me, from a Nebraska perspective, was an umpire thing. Like,
no, definitely.
You could, my vantage point on the Jet Buck strikeout, like from where I was sitting, it looked like it was probably a 50-50 and, too close to take is too close to take. And it gets called a strike. Like, I didn't have any problem with any of the umpire decisions. I just wanted, like, even the ones that were close, they got correct. Like, they would go show the replay, and ultimately the call on the field was the right call in almost all of these situations.
Here's the thing.
Whether it was the plays at the plate, last night, Ole Miss sent a guy. They shouldn't have sent him. It was close. I thought he got tagged just before his hand touched the plate. There was nothing that could show otherwise, so that ends up standing. You go all the way back to Friday with South Dakota State when they sent their guy.
Yeah.
And he had the most awkward slide imaginable.
It's also very slow.
Yeah, he stabbed the ground with his cleat like a good 6 inches short of the plate.
Not great.
Which then just allowed enough time for Nebraska to get the tag in with, I believe, Fikes there. So it was, I thought the umpires, at least from Haymarket Park, and I can't speak for all of it, and very often, I am never the one that's going to be giving these individuals.
I know.
Are tasked with upholding our rules
very big
and
of you.
regulations for a game. So I just thought they did a good job, and they deserve it. So,
very big of you, Mike
man
Schaefer.
of the weekend, the umpires. And if you really need to tailor it to anything, in the Lincoln region.
So Billy Van Raphorst, Angel Campos, great job by both of you and your crew.
Just how they handled, like, you're sitting there and constantly it's just this. Like every play at second base.
Oh, it is.
This.
It's quite annoying.
The players are never right.
It's quite annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so just to confirm, who ultimately is challenging these things? Because I never saw Will Bolt make the motion to the umpire to challenge it. He just verbally.
You can verbally say.
So
it,
that must have been what it was.
They don't give him a flag or anything. Maybe they should.
With baseball, the managers have to do that,
right.
or
or they
continue play.
My man of the weekend comes from college baseball as well. Did you hear about this story? So a guy on Twitter this weekend said this unreal college baseball story. I'm on my flight to Tallahassee, and he's a Northern Illinois fan. And there's some St. John's fans, I think students. Apparently one of their players forgot his gray jersey back in New York City. So they're literally bringing his game jersey to him. Nobody asked Mike Hampton about this or anything like that. So we don't, as far as I know, I couldn't find it on the internet to identify this player and who it was. But my men of the weekend are those kids who flew from New York to Tallahassee
just to bring a jersey.
to bring a jersey and root for the Johnnies.
That's
Nice job
wonderful.
by them.
Oh, they're still there rooting.
They are very, very college baseball. So nice job by those guys. Joey?
Unlike you guys, my men of the weekend comes from the National Basketball Association. You're soon to be NBA champions, the San Antonio Spurs. We all said this was
the
the
Spurs
NBA.
are your man of the weekend.
They are
All of them?
It feels like a preemptive.
they
men
answered-
Of
they
the
an-
week
What
here.
about all
They
those big
answered
old
the
women in
bell.
San Antonio?
They answered the bell against the OKC Thunder. They won at their home court, famously taken over by Husker fans. Wembanyama,
Not everyone can make it. A home
he
court
dominated
advantage.
Chet Holmgren. Holmgren just was
Okay.
absolutely nothing that game.
So Chet is on anti, like he is like the worst player, one of the worst players
He somehow
I've
made
seen.
it on NBL third team.
Okay, but
Crazy.
no, Chet's really good. But you didn't let me finish. Chet is one of the worst players I've seen in crunch time. He absolutely crumbles in the moment. 2 years in a row he's done this.
So
now.
you were a little bit put off by the 4 points, 4 rebounds from a third team and all NBA player.
He completely crumbles every year.
Everybody did their role for the Spurs. Cornette made a huge block. Former Celtic. I'm real happy to see him. I'm rooting for him in the finals.
Wow, Joey. The entire
How
Spurs.
How many weeks since we've started this show and did man of the weekend as Joey's NBA guy or had an NBA?
Say like
Who knows?
75%.
Who knows?
All right, that's our man of the weekend. We'll be back 7:00 hour after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, hand raise here. Something happened that will be sure to cause a inner 1620 the zone. I don't know, conversation as we go on throughout the day. So we have an attempt to be proactive on this show. Stuff tends to fester.
It's really a self-mandate amongst ourselves to just go out and do.
We just do stuff.
Wait.
There's a lot of things that kind of just fester around here. It's like, oh, that's broken. I wonder what will happen to it, and then nothing happens, or whatever it might be. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to be proactive and just do stuff whenever we feel like we should, have the opportunity to do it. Like Mike Schaefer is putting the crown credential back up on the wall because we feel like it should be done. And so I caught wind of this, and then I forgot about it until just now that seems to be a refrigerator in the room that is broken. Yes. It is making a loud noise. To the point where you can possibly slightly hear it over the air. And so when it started up in the second segment of the show today, we were like, all right, cool, let's move it. And we had to figure out where it was unplugged, took it out, chucked it in the dumpster. The thing is, there is 2 fridges in this room. One is a big fridge and one is a small fridge. And I threw away the small fridge, which appeared to now be the working fridge, or the fridge that wasn't making noise.
In our defense, that one likes to leak on top of the big.
But when I unplugged the small fridge, the one that I thought was not working, the sound went away. But then I came back from the dumpster, in which I threw the small working fridge in. I came back from the dumpster, and then the noise was still there. And now I threw away one good fridge to only be left and sacked with one bad fridge now.
It's not Giancarlo's fault.
So I'm going to go ahead and take responsibility for this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to everybody here at 1620 The Zone. You can make fun of me. I don't do a lot of stuff that I do. I don't do a lot of things that people can make fun of. I know it's very weird, but
we're pushing for change. I'll take accountability with you, Connor.
If you could change, I could change.
We should all take accountability.
I held the door open on its way to the dumpster.
I noticed a noise
here.
I will
say I don't think that fridge is broken.
I don't believe it's broken either. It just makes an annoying noise.
It is very.
I just
loud
don't like
right
the loud
now.
noise.
Yeah, Joe. It's very much bothering Joey for sure. I'm not.
Well,
cool
you seem to notice how loud the fridge in the break room is, which that thing you can hear.
I don't go in there.
Out in the hallway.
I don't go in there.
You have to walk by that hallway every day.
Yeah, I just, blinders on.
Amazing.
Matthew writes in, this fridge fiasco sounds like Nebraska football the last couple decades. They threw away the good fridge. Nebraska football threw away the good fridge.
All right, let's spend the next 20 minutes figuring out who the good fridge was in the last 25 years that got thrown away.
Oh my God.
Is it Bo Pelini? Was he the good fridge?
Frank Solich.
Was Frank Solich?
It's Frank Solich.
Frank Solich. And then they were left with Bill Callahan, the bad
Steve
fridge.
Peterson?
No, I hope not. Anyway, I don't want to do that.
We had a good fridge waiting to be used, and we finally got to use it halfway through that 2007 season at quarterback.
Yeah.
We started with Sam Keller.
That's actually true. So there's been a lot of good and bad fridges. And in a lot of cases, they have thrown away the good fridge.
Yeah, well.
There hasn't been a lot of good fridges, though.
There's also been a lot of attempts to keep a fridge that's making a lot of noise working, continuously operating. Because you need that fridge to provide the coolness, or in this case, the money for college athletics. So maybe the fridge is just the entire Nebraska program. Maybe that's been the fridge all along.
The real fridge, the real friends is the fridge we made along the way, or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mike says Bo Pelini loud but worked okay. And that was... We haven't thrown that one. Well, we did throw that one.
This would work even better if there was a heating element to the whole thing instead of just being cool.
Yeah, it's not a one-to-one thing here, but we'll try and figure it out. So just be on the lookout for that. People are going to be making fun of me for the fridge the remainder of the day, and I'll take full responsibility for it because that's what we do. We are the show of accountability. That's what we are. We are now, instead of the show of proactiveness, we're going to cut back on our proactiveness and we're going to just say we are accountable.
We are accountable.
Text from the 515. I think the football was the refrigerator. John writes in, he thinks it was not Jeff Sims or Turner Corcoran. They were not the good fridges. All right. He's just hating on Jeff Sims and Turner Corcoran as he does every day. So welcome to a new week. All right. Let's go back to baseball from over the weekend. Nebraska's season comes to an end. The fridge noise is gone, by the way, without a trip to the Lincoln Regional Final. So we knew it was going to be a tight wire act as far as the pitching is concerned. And, like I felt like, I think we all felt like, and not unlike any other regional, the 2-0 team just has a massive advantage. You really got to start 2-0 and you get to that 1-0 game. And we'll talk about the 6th inning. Maybe do a whole breakdown of the 6th inning on Saturday night during this segment here. But if you look at the big picture stuff, I would say a couple things. First and foremost, the most obvious thing for Nebraska baseball this weekend, the defense just completely let them down.
Yeah.
I mean, I did not see that coming. If you would have told me that Nebraska died by not getting to the regional final this weekend and they gave up 16 runs a couple different times and it was just the pitching just completely fell apart in on itself, I would have been like, yeah, I could see that. If you would have told me they just didn't do enough on offense, which I guess is partially the truth.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay, I just didn't see the defense letting them down, especially in crucial moments from some of their best guys too.
Wow.
Rhett Stokes, Dylan Carey. I mean, those guys have been so good up the middle this year and it just fell apart.
Even, there's the obvious ones of the drop pop-up that occurred in the 6th inning that you were talking about against Ole Miss. There's a double play. Then there's like little stuff like the ball coming in from left center and it gets by Overbeek and then it gets by Bender. And then your catcher has to run all the way, to the Nebraska dugout to get it because there's nobody else there. There's no one to cover home, which wouldn't have mattered anyways. But it's just like you gave up a run there. You gave up multiple runs.
Well, that was in that inning where everything was blowing up yesterday, right?
And it was actually the follow-up inning. So they scored 3, then 2, then 1, and it was in that follow-up inning. I mean, you give up 2 runs effectively because you aren't able to catch the pop-up, and that's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
There was some conversation, and it's hard from at least where I was standing. I haven't seen it on TV. There was some conversation wondering how catchable the ball was in right center that landed between Moyer and Grigo.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a tough play, but we've seen Drew Grigo make really tough plays for Nebraska baseball before.
Yeah, and it can get hung up out there too in right center the way the wind was blowing this weekend.
Lanny Holstein, a friend of ours, was fairly convinced that they just had a miscommunication between the two of them as to which one was going to go for it. So neither guy was going hard enough to be able to catch it, and it kind of landed between them.
Yep.
And then
I think that's a great encapsulation just of the weekend, right?
Well,
so that's the other big thing.
Slightly off.
I just thought they played tentative.
Other than like 2 guys, I would agree with that.
They were
I
really
thought Ty Horn was phenomenal.
Ty Horn was awesome
on Saturday and gave Nebraska every opportunity to be in that game, to win that game, to do what needed to be done through his 5 2/3 or whatever it ended up being. He
probably stayed in a batter or two too long.
It's one of those if you could have gotten the out.
But I do like I understand the decision making at the time because you're just like, look, man, you're our best guy. You're our best guy to get this out here. And like coming out of the bullpen, you have no idea what's going to happen. And clearly, I mean, Nebraska's bullpen couldn't even be trusted to throw strikes.
The first guy to come out of the bullpen in Tucker Timmerman in that game, the very first pitch, one of the worst hitters on Ole Miss just laces for an RBI single. Like they were ready for Ty Horn to be out of that game.
Mm-hmm.
They were frustrated in that dugout,
and so it's a tricky spot because he's going through the 3rd time through the order, and
and that's a
they're on him,
offensive team,
and then you don't love your bullpen options either, and so it's a. So I get it. I completely understand the decision making from Will Bolton, Rob Childress to keep Horn in at that point. That certainly was not the issue of the weekend, right? Like you could go back and do revisionist history and be like, oh, was it the right call to to pitch Yasa on Friday, and how bad it's. But
given how they played and everything else, it didn't matter.
Exactly, it did not matter because of what Horn gave you on Saturday.
I would say an even bigger thing than pitching Yasa on Friday is that you managed to score a total of 4 runs against South Dakota State and forcing you to use Jason Unger for 50 pitches.
Yep.
Instead of having him available for the Ole Miss game where maybe he's the guy in the 6th inning.
He absolutely would have been
bring
the guy
him in that situation to get a shutdown
yes.
and get out of the inning, but you don't have him available because your bats went completely quiet at a time where they looked like they had never seen a breaking ball before. The previous man of the weekend, Ty Madison, I gave it to him for his performance in the Summit League. He was great, and all he did was just junk it up.
Same thing with their starter, the Schleck guy.
Speed.
Yeah, he was throwing like 72 mile an hour changeups, and they just couldn't get around on it.
Just beat it into the ground, or just did very little with it. And so, we talked about Nebraska baseball, like they were a great fielding team almost all year until when it mattered. And one of the things that they didn't launch a lot of home runs, and yet you look up partway into this Arizona State game, you're 21 innings into your regional experience, and 6 of your 8 runs have come off of home runs, which means you hit 5 home runs, and 4 of them were solo, and 1 was a 2-run homer. But that is a really tough way to live offensively when you weren't that all year.
Yeah.
When you were getting guys on base with walks and hit by pitches and hitting them around, whether it's a parade of singles or doubles or whatever else.
They hit the long ball, but they were not home run dependent all year long. And
which is a dangerous recipe because then your pitching can't keep it low enough. Like they couldn't get traffic on base. And then when they had traffic on base, they couldn't get them in.
Just felt like they met just a steel wall all weekend long. And so I think the bigger picture idea that I would take away from the weekend is this. We wondered about it with this team, and we talked about it leading into the weekend. What does it look like, and how does it feel when you are the host of the regional? Meaning you are the team that is supposed to move on to the next weekend. And we knew how difficult it was. I mean, we talked about it. Ole Miss and Arizona State, they proved to be better than you, but from a resume perspective, it was pretty similar. It's about as close from a 1 to 3 as you saw across the country, just from a resume perspective. And so that doesn't factor into how do you play when you are the big dog. And Nebraska was the supposed big dog of the weekend, playing as the hunted. It felt like it was a factor for me all weekend. I just thought that they were really tight, except in the moments, and the only time they looked like themselves or what they had been doing all year. And some of this is a factor of competition. I think we could talk about that part of it too, except in the moments where they were down big. They were down 6-1, and all of a sudden Max Butenbach, takes it over the left.
So predictable to me, right. Like so predictable.
And he makes it 6-3. And then even in the 9th, in the winners bracket game,
2 guys on.
Yeah. They have a shutdown 9th with Worthley, who walks the first guy and then strikes out 3. And then they get action going immediately in the bottom of the 9th. It's like, whoa, nobody really gave him a shot in this. And they end up falling short, and they hit into a double play. Same thing. And you're down 11-1 in the elimination game yesterday. And here it comes. 11-5, 11-6, 11-7, 11-8. And you got action in the 9th. And that was the only time that I felt like Nebraska was comfortable all weekend, when they were in a insurmountable hole 2 times to really good teams. You can't play that way. UCLA found it out this weekend,
can't live on the knife's edge.
You played with way too much fire. And I thought in those crucial moments earlier in games, Nebraska probably just didn't meet the moment enough. And that's something that, it's tough, because we had talked about it. The thing about this team is that they were what do you always say? The red ass baseball boys.
Red ass baseball boys.
They are really good when no one believes in them. They're really good when their backs are up against the wall. And they've traditionally been good under Will Bolt when their backs are up against the wall. It's why we felt so strongly about them in 2021 when they were in a hostile environment in Arkansas. It was like, whoa, they're going to actually have a chance to do this. And they pushed them all the way to a Game 7. Here at home, against a couple worse teams than Arkansas was in 21, and we all thought this was a better team in 25 than for Nebraska. they couldn't even get to the regional final. And I think that was a factor this weekend.
Yeah,
really
I think that was part of it. This is also it, and this has kind of always been the thing when it comes to Nebraska baseball in these settings. You don't get enough guys that step up. You just don't.
No.
And what I mean by that is they don't have to be stars. They don't have to do it every game. But Ole Miss, bottom of their order, wore out Nebraska's pitching in that 6-3 game. Like the hitters 6 through 9 found ways on base, found ways to be involved in that game. Their catcher, Fowley, had a huge double off the wall, was constantly working counts, like was getting it deep into counts all the time, had just caught the 14-inning game the game prior, and you're getting that out of him. Arizona State starts on Sunday, a guy with an ERA damn near close to 6, and he goes out and he shoves. He has Nebraska off balance constantly, struck out 7 or 8 guys in his appearance. I mean, so you get these players that maybe they weren't stars for Arizona State or Ole Miss, but they show up and they perform well. Nebraska got Ty Horn. You got a couple home runs from Jet Buck. Dylan Carey played okay offensively, but not nearly good enough defensively, even though at times he made a couple great defensive plays.
Yep.
Wasn't
himself.
You just didn't get enough out of anybody else. Case Anderson, there wasn't a whole lot there all weekend. It felt like the bottom of the order. Rhett Stokes and Drew Grigo were just automatic outs for you almost every time, except for Drew Grigo hits the single that puts 2 on, and Stokes follows immediately with the double play, I guess.
Yeah.
So in it just
Grigo had a bad weekend.
But this goes back any of these regionals. It's like Nebraska doesn't get those performances, and yet they watch the other team have somebody step up over and over.
Some of this is, and by the way, the pitcher you mentioned, Colby Guy for Arizona State, 6 innings and struck out 7.
They struck out a ton this weekend too.
Yeah, the strikeout. I mean, it's one of the things that had really been their bugaboo for the last few years. Just way too much swing and miss.
Yeah,
and this team didn't quite have that element to them, but it showed up in a big way over the weekend. They got some high velocity guys,
and they struggled with the velo for sure.
So some of that, and it transitions perfectly into this. Like, some of this is just the talent and the depth of talent, right? And like Nebraska can be a team from a resume perspective because of what surrounds them in the Big Ten and because of what they're able to put together in the non-con that puts together a strong enough resume to be a host. And then these other, and it was maybe some of it is just specifically Ole Miss and Arizona State. They are built in a certain way. They were kind of monstrous. But those are really talented teams because of their program name and a variety of different things. Nebraska just wasn't as talented as either of those teams.
And that's why they had to be better at the little things, and they weren't.
Yep. And it was the same story with, I mean, you're talking about UCLA, UCLA is going to have a couple of first-round picks, including the number 1 overall pick, come from that team. But top to bottom, it's not like this. They had so much overwhelming talent that they were just able to run through teams on their way.
That's in a regional where you get a Virginia Tech team that's a questionable 2 seed to begin with, and then Cal Poly and St. Mary's, and they struggled with that too.
So your margin for error is just small, and so
it being baseball, like if a guy has a rough 3 games, like Case Anderson didn't have the best 3 games,
right?
That's the end of it.
Oregon is probably the most top to bottom talented quote unquote team maybe in the Big Ten.
It's hard. I don't know that they're more talented than UCLA. They're playing better. USC looks like a different team than the one that came into Lincoln.
They got bombs last night. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they beat A&M to win that regional.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
This is a good weekend to you get to see it against other teams. Like when you're so insular in the Big Ten, you look at it every year. You're like, wow, this is the big dog.
They look the most like an Arizona State or an Ole Miss, where all of their guys, not all of them, but
that's what I'm saying,
are big.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to sit where I sat for this game, and I'm in the 3rd row behind home plate, basically off to the right by the Ole Miss dugout. Every dude is a monster.
They're just so physical.
Every dude, whether it's
Nebraska's just not that is not how they have done it here.
No,
and that's not how they're gonna do it.
They're not going to get those guys. Yeah. Those guys are going to go to those programs.
Yeah.
That's effectively how it works. It doesn't mean that they're unbeatable. It doesn't mean that Nebraska can't compete with it, but they can't give away outs. They can't give away at bats. They have to have better pitching. I mean, I think that was evident when we got into April and you were playing Ole Miss, or confusing Ole Miss and Oregon. You're playing Oregon, USC. You have the Kansas series in there, a little bit of Kansas State, and it's just like you can tell Nebraska's pitching is just stretched really thin because you were never getting deep into games with your starters. They weren't really efficient guys either. You know, your best two starters in Yasa and Horn, you're getting 5 to maybe 6 innings.
Yep.
You've got to cover that gap, and they didn't have good enough pitching there.
Yep. And then, you know, and you're in a situation like this, you got to be good everywhere. And, you know, the pitching, like I said, was going to be a high wire act no matter what. But then the defense lets you down and the offense isn't itself either.
Right.
And all that came together for Nebraska this weekend. Text from the 402 here. Eye test was telling Ole Miss and Arizona State rolled out guys 6'5", 250 pounds and up, down the order and on the mound. Nebraska looks smaller and outmatched. Like, you don't have to be the biggest team in the world in order to have success, but it does. I mean, the texter is right. They were going to run out nonstop guys who were throwing 94, 95 for both teams all weekend. And Nebraska just doesn't, like, they don't have that. And you can pitch and not throw 96. Like, you can be very good.
But the
and
thing
not
is,
throw
you have
96.
to be better in the margin.
We got to be good in the margin.
And they weren't. And the thing is, that's what they did to teams all year. They didn't give away outs. They didn't, you know, when they were at their best pitching wise, they weren't walking people. They walked 5 guys in an inning.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Nebraska pitching walked, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 in the 6-3 loss to Ole Miss in the 1-0 game.
5 of them in the 7th inning.
And then lost to, weren't quite as bad, but got slugged around, obviously, yesterday against Arizona State. They only walked 3.
But you have 4 unearned runs in that game. You lose by 3. Allow it to get pushed out to 11-1. You know, like, there's just unforced mental errors throughout the whole weekend. I don't think there's any like systemic change that needs to happen.
No, it's just something to think about.
Baseball like didn't conduct itself with the sort of, you know, like there's going to be efforts to sort of dismiss this as a one-off that they can. Everything they did was sustainable. There's just another level that has to be done in order to match the Ole Miss Arizona State.
I'd say a couple things. Number one, some of it is just you got a bad draw. I mean, like, you got a great draw in terms of your hosted a regional and you did everything you could to put yourself in great position.
You got 2 top 25 teams.
You got 2 really excellent teams. So you're going to get 2 really good teams, but you know, you look around at some of the other regions across the country, it didn't have to be 2 power programs.
Right.
It could have been 1, and that makes a difference.
Right.
But it was 2 power programs. So some of it is you got a bad draw this weekend, and that is going to happen sometimes. And then the other thing that I would think about for Nebraska, if they're going to position themselves this way, is the sort of mentality part. And I think for the most part, it serves them really, really well to be who they are for the majority of the season. But it does not serve them well in an environment like that.
Yep.
It just doesn't. And so I don't know. You can't twist and turn your entire program just for that weekend. And so there's going to be a lot of thoughts about sort of, all right, what do we need to do to take the next step? And like you said, Schaefer, ultimately, I think the response is
keep chopping wood.
Keep chopping wood. We don't have to do anything.
I mean, eventually you're going to get in that setting where you're going to have 6, 7, 8 guys have a weekend. Like, it's, you know, unfortunately for Nebraska, it has often been 1 or 2 guys show up and the rest of the team is sort of aloof or not what they are in a regular setting. And it didn't matter who the opponent was. They didn't play well against South Dakota State. They won that game. They didn't play particularly well. They didn't hit the ball well. They didn't take advantage of things. So, you know, there's no wholesale change that needs to happen. There's no structural change. You'd love to see Nebraska have bigger players in general, but some of who they are is built in the fact that they're not Ole Miss and Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to win in different ways. It's going to look very different next year, though. You're not going to have Dylan Carey. You're not going to have
Rocks.
You're not going to have Rhett Stokes. You're not going to have Jalen Worthley. You're not going to have some of these names that we've seen around here for a while. And we'll see if the draft does anything with players that are expected to come in or guys a little bit further down. But you're still going to have Jalen, or you're going to have Jeter Worthley. You're going to have Drew Grigo. I would expect Case Anderson's back. You know, Fikes, I believe, is a younger guy. I think the biggest thing is what can they do? What can they find pitching wise? How do they build through the portal?
Let's take a break. You guys have thoughts on that? 402-951-1620. Give us a call. Send us a text on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Once again, 402-951-1620. Tweet us at Happer and Schaefer. We'll be right back. Wanting to come on Happer and Schaefer on 1620 The Zone. We'll have more big picture stuff with the NCAA baseball tournament coming up. Remember, College World Series here in just a couple of weeks, right here on 1620 The Zone. And we are excited for it, ladies and gentlemen. The Supers will be set after today. For the first time in this current format since 1999, each of the 8 teams from last year's College World Series failed to reach the Super Regionals in the next season. That was the case for each of the Omaha 8 last year. Only 2 made the regional final, which is basically, the round of 32.
That is nuts. Like absolutely nuts. I mean, I knew that it was down quite a bit because of Louisville and LSU.
Louisville, LSU, Arizona, Murray State obviously missed the NCAA tournament. And then Coastal went 2-Q. UCLA almost went 2-Q, 1-2. And then Oregon State and Arkansas made the regional final, but we're not able to advance out of that. So 0 for 8, we will have a full-on new field in the College World Series coming up in just a couple of weeks. Speaking of the College World Series, the Women's College World Series went on over the weekend. I will say this first before we get to Nebraska. I did not dive headfirst into the whole handshake, what happened in the handshake line deal. No idea. I just saw the video 100 different times of nobody saying anything in the handshake line.
The summation given to me is that the Tennessee coach said something to a Texas Tech player that had previously played at Tennessee along the lines of you shouldn't have transferred. But then there's debate as to whether this was even said.
Yeah, it was a close-up video.
Allegedly, the player's dad went nuclear on Twitter.
I did see that one.
Yeah. Going after writers, going after fans, going after anyone. And once again,
tough look.
The best advice anyone could ever give another human being: do not tweet ever. Really,
do not tweet ever. Yeah, absolutely. I could support that completely.
If you are going to tweet, remember that if you send DMs, they will last as long as the person receives them, wants them to last, and is under no obligation to not share them. So conduct yourself like you're a human being.
Yep.
Would be maybe if you are going to tweet.
Nebraska softball. They go down at the hands of, it had to be Texas in Alabama, I suppose, this weekend. Nebraska coming off of their walk-off win that we talked about on Thursday night, going into Friday against Arkansas, came up short against Alabama, and looked like we're on a pretty decent track against Texas yesterday, considering their star pitcher had
starts off with a leadoff home run.
Starts off with a leadoff home run and carried a no-hitter into the 6th.
Yep.
And ended up blowing up on her there. And Nebraska softball bows out. Which, honestly, if you would have told me any scenario in which Nebraska makes the Women's College World Series at the beginning of the year, like, I'm signing that paper.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time. So there's no disappointment about it other than just losing to Texas and the season being over.
Yeah, like it's the same for both teams. It's not that the season is less than because the postseason is over, and they both reach heights that if you would have just been told, like, hey, they're going to host a regional and softball is going to host a regional, a super regional, and go to the Women's College World Series
and win again.
Epic win.
Yeah,
you would definitely have taken that. At least with softball, there's the feeling of, man, it's going to be hard to repeat the highs of what this year was because it took a generational talent that had a freak injury to set up this sort of super team of largely Nebraska-based women, which is what was really cool about it. I mean, you have all of these different people that are involved in the sport from here locally, where the softball scene is really good, and they've come back and they're playing at Nebraska, and they have this opportunity to try to go win a national championship, and it comes up a little bit short. You lost to the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country. You went down with Jordy Fromm, in a way that was kind of the only way it was going to go. That if I have any kind of like, man, I kind of wish that they would have done X, it would have basically been, would have loved to have seen Alexis Jensen start game 2.
Me too.
If only because
just the wear and tear.
It's a lot to ask
Yeah.
And Jordy had pitched a ton this year, and I don't think that it's a fatigue thing or anything like that, but to give up the 3-run home run in the first inning, it's pretty hard to come back.
I just kind of thought that they'd be the type of team who's like, we're going to stick with the plan. This is our plan. This is what we've done all season long. So let's just stick to the plan. And they didn't. They threw a little bit of a curveball there, and it came back to bite them, at least a little bit. Who knows what would have happened if Jensen would have started that game? I don't know.
Same thing as with Nebraska baseball. Like, you had to have other players step up in softball, and you did with Hannah Core, certainly in the first game and that, but you needed some more hitting. You needed to be able to get people on base. You needed to be able to get runs in. It's hard to sit on a 1-0 lead for a pitcher.
Hey, you mentioned the recruiting locally thing, or the scene with all the good softball players around here. I think it's a lot like it sort of mirrors baseball in a lot of different ways. And you've always had that around here. There's some tremendous players who are absolutely capable of playing at the Division I level, at the high major, Power 5 level, whatever it might be. But there is not a lot of, we're talking about first round draft picks, superstars, and Jordy Fromm. So I don't want the lesson from Jordy Fromm to be like, oh, hey, look, you can get players from here and build a championship caliber team. She is one of one.
No, it was a perfect sort of storm where you have this absolute unicorn, and it's combined with a time of which the talent in the state is so good, and you have these girls that come back from Arkansas, and you have her coming from Oklahoma, and you have Alexis Jensen as a freshman, and you have all these other players. I mean, Nebraska softball is not just going to go away, but this felt like there was a moment there.
Yep, it was
going to be hard to capture, to get back to being in the second game of the College World Series, of a chance to really set yourself up in a way that is really hard to do.
I don't think they were probably good enough to win the national championship. But you're in the dance, right?
Your best route was that she's unconscious pitching in the circle. Alexis Jensen is absolutely able to match her, and you get just enough offense. Tough way to live.
Yeah.
It's a tough sport. I mean, that's why you see the best teams win over and over and over and over. And that's why we're going to see, Texas Tech and Tennessee and Texas and Alabama are the 4 teams left, right? Or did UCLA beat? I don't remember how that game ended with UCLA and Texas Tech. That was a late game on Sunday, and I was in baseball mode at that point. But I thought it was Texas Tech. I could be wrong.
Texas Tech beat UCLA in 9.
So those are your 4 teams. If you would have told people that before the beginning of the year,
they'd be like, yeah, I'm not surprised by this.
It's been like, okay, so
where's Oklahoma?
The 2 teams that played for a title last year.
Yeah.
A really great Alabama team. I don't remember if they made the Women's College World Series, and then Tennessee made it a year ago, and they have one of the best pitchers in the country.
Right.
So Nebraska's task, had they even beaten Texas, would then to go beat Carlin Pickens twice, which they had to do in the Super Regional last year, and were unable to do so.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar story with baseball in the regional.
Sport. Yeah.
It's like you would have had to come back and beat somebody twice, like Ole Miss twice. Like, it's just a really, really uphill battle, but you're in the dance.
There's shades. If I was making a cross sport comparison of another Nebraska team,
give it to me.
There are shades of 2005 Nebraska baseball with what has happened.
Oh,
generational local talent, Alex Gordon, generation local talent. Now different in that Jordy Fromm went and won a couple with Oklahoma, but you have this team that go and they sort of exceed the moment, or they get to the Women's College World Series. They have that big win. Nebraska gets their big win with the first game, and then they don't win after that.
Yeah.
Same with Nebraska softball. Like there's
that win did feel like a breakthrough.
It did.
Yeah.
It really did. And the hard part about the comparison, and in both situations, the follow-up is going to be really hard when the perfect storm brews one time.
It's funny when I think about the 05, I remember nothing about their win against Florida in the 05 College World Series. I remember everything about their loss to Arizona State the first time, the Jeff Larish 3 home runs game and Andy Gertch and all that. That was the seminal moment of that team.
Well, I think their win was Arizona State lost 10-1 to Florida and then beat Arizona State. Wasn't that what it was? Or lose to Arizona State? I thought it was, okay, you said their win against Florida. Didn't they lose to Florida in the second game? Do I have this wrong in my head?
I thought the first Arizona State game was the 1-0 game.
Yeah, that's it, but when you said it, you said Florida. You said Nebraska beat Florida.
Who'd they beat in the first game?
They beat Arizona State in the first game.
Oh, so it was that game where they won? What?
Yeah,
I don't know what I'm
that's what I
misremembering.
think that it is.
Whatever it might have been, but I agree with you. By the way, the 05 the 05 team with just it all felt like it culminated there.
Mhm.
Not to say that it I mean, what happened for Nebraska baseball afterwards is it sort of fell off the map a little bit. That was due to a variety of different factors, and I don't know that Nebraska softball is necessarily in danger of that happening here. But it was your best crack at the king, if you will, and they fell short.
1-5-3 against Arizona State. Jabba, pitcher of record, lost 4-7 to Florida. Dorn, pitcher of record, and then lost 7-8 to Arizona State.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
was bad.
Well, which one was the Jeff Larish?
That is the last
the
one. Was
third.
a Jeff Larish.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That was the one where that was
And
also
the first one was the Andy Gertch game, or
No,
that was
the last
also
one
the
was
third.
also the Andy
Okay,
Gertch
so I
game.
had that right. I
Yeah.
just messed up the order.
Yeah. And then I believe the Curtis Ledbetter missing the foul ball was in the third game as well. You know, anytime that happens in the postseason, my head goes immediately back to that.
It's not the Arkansas one where they were 1 out away from winning the College World Series. The foul ball.
It's not that from
Wow.
a Nebraska perspective.
Rank
but that one
rank your most famous foul balls.
much worse to that one. Good Lord.
Arkansas has had it
Dave Van
rough around here. Rough. Bad. They've won a lot of games, but they have not. That's a completely different set of problems. They are the most talented team in the country every year, and they just cannot.
Do you think they have like a Cup Crusher Chronicles or something over there?
Great podcast idea. We'll send this to our fine friends in Fayetteville.
Rank city of the day.
Rank the worst things that have happened. But yeah, it's a completely different set of problems.
Yeah.
Nebraska is finding this way to try to, get over the hump and then, hopefully find a way in those moments.
They're cruising past the hump, and all of a sudden just a sniper gets them right in the pills.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. Now, I don't know that this year would fall into that category much for them, but it wasn't a good weekend for them either, going down a couple times to Kansas this weekend. So let's take a quick time out here. We'll get to the headlines when we return. Still plenty to come. Tim Verghese, Michael Bruntz is going to join us as well. I'd also like to remind you all that Funplex and us here at 1620 The Zone are teaming up for the VIP Friends Night Out giveaway. You could score 6 tickets to the Knights of the Bay Funplex, a private cabana, and $100 to party and style. And select Saturday nights this year, the Funplex Water Park transforms into high-energy dance party with Knights of the Bay featuring live bands and the best DJs bringing nonstop hits and summer vibes. This week, we have DJ Montez Beats. So check that out this weekend. You want to win tickets? All you got to do is head to 1620thezone.com.
Good luck with that, Dan.
All right. So we've had a weekend to collect the headlines. God knows there's been some truly weird things happening around the world.
Indeed, it
And
was.
Joey has got it down to just 2. What do we have?
Headline number 1: as poisonings soar to record, health officials urge Californians not to pick or eat wild mushrooms.
I'm glad that they're learning this lesson now, I suppose.
Shrooms.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interested. But what do we have for number 2?
Headline number 2: Kazakhstan to legalize air taxis as Majlis adopts amendments.
You just wanted to talk about this because it says Kazakhstan and you like Borat.
I love Borat, but this was one of the random headlines, and I've never seen air taxi, so I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, I would click on the air taxis over the idiots
Really?
doing wild mushrooms.
Wow. All right. We're going to the air taxis then. Interesting. All right. Kazakhstan to legalize air taxis. Let's see what the law. This is from where do you find this crap? Tengri News. From Kazakhstan.
Joey goes to work on the internet.
What the law
I do.
provides. The law creates official rules in Kazakhstan for launching urban air transport or urban air mobility. In simple terms, the state is preparing legislation for the future emergence of flying taxis, passenger drones, and unmanned delivery. The new amendments regulate not only flights themselves, but also the protection of passengers' personal data and the transition of the entire transport system to a digital format. So basically, like plane Ubers is what we're talking about here, or they just put forth the law to make that happen. I believe this exists like in New York. I think you can do like a helicopter from from like an airport or around an airport to
Or
the
helipad.
city and get the helipad like to one of the tall buildings down. Like I think this exists. Am I right?
Yeah, I didn't know. Like, I thought NetJets was sort of a similar concept where, like,
Well, NetJets is just like PJs,
yeah,
right?
well, that's kind of what I assume, that it's sort of like you belong to this thing that allows you access to it that you can take when you want to.
From what I've heard about the thing in like it's actually through Uber, and you could just like if you're willing
Uber has a network of helicopters,
at
and
least
pilots.
a couple. Yeah,
There's just pilots that are in their spare time, or like, we're gonna.
I would imagine there's more qualifications.
I hope.
I mean, if I'm
I
hungry,
really do.
if I'm hungry and I need quick and efficient of delivery, might as well call an Uber helicopter.
I'll tell you what, man. Like if I wanted to get from the airport to the city, and I didn't want it to take 45 minutes.
I think
in New
helicopters for the uber rich in New York are a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
Just avoid everything, land on tall buildings.
The law in Kazakhstan will introduce new concepts of vertiport, special mini airports or platforms for the vertical takeoff and landing of flying taxis and large drones. Urban air mobility, the official name for a system of transporting passengers and cargo by air within a city. Urban air mobility zone, designated sections of airspace over cities where such transport will be allowed to fly. Unmanned traffic management, an analog of a dispatch service that will monitor drones and flying vehicles to ensure they do not collide in the air. That would be the most concerning thing to me if we're talking about short-term air travel, intercity air travel here. It's the thing I've always been concerned about with flying cars
and jetpacks,
things that are in the air in general. How do you prevent them from running into each other?
As there is no roadway.
There is no
structure.
roads. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would still be my concern. Maybe there's some sort of
a real concern.
Because if you put a virtual road up there, it defeats the purpose.
Yep.
I mean, there is that as far as long-term air travel. There is a quote-unquote road that you stay on, to go from point to point.
Flight path.
Right. And so if you do it in the short term, it would just completely defeat the purpose of it in general.
In general, a collision in the air is dangerous for so many more people than just in the air.
Facts.
Which is a big part
we
of
learned that on Breaking Bad.
You have to. Yeah, exactly. We did learn that.
Sadly.
It was a heck of a. Was that season 2 or 3?
Oh, what a episode.
Yeah. Well, just
I think it was 2. It was early.
The way they placed the pieces before the beginning of the cold openings of all those different episodes, and then that tells the story.
The little pink bear. Yeah.
That you eventually get to.
Nobody could have guessed that it was about the plane crashing into the other plane.
Well, I'm sure people attempted to guess on Reddit or whatever.
Oh, I'm sure. Somebody got it right.
The hell out of it.
Somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't.
When I watched it several years later using Josh Peterson's DVDs. I didn't know.
He's always willing to loan them to people. I'll tell you that.
It really is.
All right, those are the headlines. We will take a break. 8:00 hour. There was some big developments as far as Nebraska football over the weekend. Yes, that's right. We'll tell you about it next on 1620 The Zone. We'll talk more later on, set you up for the day in college baseball today. What a if you just found out about ESPN squeeze play, hashtag ESPN squeeze play this weekend, welcome to the party. Nonstop thrill ride they have over there, watching several games at once. And you just, I likened it to a undetonated bomb last night on social media. But the only thing you know about it is it's going to go off like 15 to 25 times a day. You just don't know when. It's just, it just goes off randomly, and it could cause harm when it does.
It can cause whiplash. You're just jumping around from thing to thing to thing. It's
so much
massive home run, great defensive play, huge bases loaded strikeout. Boom, 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 boom.
So much going on. And it will continue today. First game is at 11 o'clock, featuring the champions of the Big East and the hosts of the Tallahassee Regional, Florida State.
Honk,
to
honk!
win to force another game later on this afternoon. I got an email from Joel on the Equitable Bank inbox. This is regarding Nebraska baseball before we get to Trae Taylor here. Mike and Connor, first off, congratulations on 100 shows.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it. Obviously, this weekend was a little disappointing, but I really like where the baseball program is, and I don't think we've given them enough credit until this year. In the last 6 years, they've won 3 conference titles, made the NCAA tournament 4 times, including 3 straight appearances, and hosted a regional. They're stuck in an annoying spot where they're a solid top 4 team in the new Big Ten, but they're not on the same level as some of the top teams in the country. If they're going to break through, I think getting to showcase Lincoln like they did this weekend is only going to help. I don't disagree with any of that. It's good to put that in perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more here, but I mean, anything on that first?
I mean, no, I agree with it in general. Like, that's why I don't know that there's this other level for them to necessarily get to.
I know.
Other than eventually breaking through, winning a regional. You might have that odd year. Like,
there's no wholesale changes. I mean,
Right.
you just, them's the breaks sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, they're in a good spot.
the way they're building it is sustainable. How they operate is sustainable. What they're doing is sustainable. Is it enough for a certain level of fan? Maybe not, but like, I don't know what to tell them, because I don't think you break this to go in search of trying to recruit everyone that's 6'5", 240 pounds to look a certain way.
They are on a pretty solid path. There's, in my opinion, I don't think
just
there's
gotta
much
have
doubt about
guys
it.
perform in the weekend, and it hasn't worked that way.
Joel also says, I want to finish by saying I loved this baseball team. They were such a pleasure to watch, even yesterday going down in flames, but fighting tooth and nail the whole way. Jalen Worthley throws a shutdown 9th inning to give them a chance to get the tying run at the plate. Then against Arizona State, Carey gets an RBI single to finish out his career. I don't want to claim any moral victories, but they did play all 27 outs to the end. Yeah, I said it a lot yesterday. There was quite the emotional bond, I think, with people in this particular team.
Well, part of what was magical about them is that they didn't give games away. They didn't give up on games. They came back numerous times. It would have been fitting for them to come back on one of Ole Miss or Arizona State, because that's kind of who they were.
Yeah, they were.
throughout the year. And then they gave themselves chances in both of those games in the last inning.
It's admirable.
There's
no doubt about
down
it.
11-1.
You're like, oh my God, they're actually going to do this. And you halfway believed it because they had done it before. I mean, they had to come back against Minnesota. And
exactly.
Like if they do it enough times throughout the year, you're just forced to believe it. Like I always, it's such a unique feeling as a fan to be in the position of, like, my team has done this so much and they've proved me wrong so much that I now have to, and I'm forced to believe that they're going to do unthinkable things. I always think about the 2014 Royals when I think about this exact feeling. Invincibility. They were not, how good were they? I don't know. They weren't as good as half the teams in the playoffs. I don't know, but they had this feeling of invincibility, even, and this is for people who were watching Nebraska baseball the entire year. Maybe not everyone that was in the crowd this weekend, but people who are watching Husker baseball the entire year. There wasn't like this moan and groan. We always talk about in Memorial Stadium, Schaefer, we always talk about the murmurs. Once it starts rolling around, you're like, oh boy, here it comes. The winds just pull the rug out from underneath me. Go ahead and do it. That was not a thought with this team at all. Now, they didn't meet the moment a couple times this weekend, but there was always this sort of confidence behind of like, yeah, we believe that we're going to win. Maybe we're not quite as good as some of these other teams, but we are never going to stop thinking that we're in these games.
Yeah, I'm glad, and Joey might want to clip this because I might never say this set of words again.
Get out the TikTok cam.
I'm glad you mentioned the 2014 Royals. That's what I will probably never say.
Go ahead, put it out there.
It represents sort of what I was ham-fistedly trying to say earlier. When you need different guys to step up that maybe aren't your best players, you know who I think about when I think about those 14, 15 teams?
What an exciting question. Gerard Dyson.
No.
Dang it.
That would Speed do? Yeah. R.I.P.
Who do you think about?
I think about Alcides Escobar.
Oh, wow. What a guy.
One of the weakest hitting players that you would come across year in and year out, playing a good shortstop defensively. And it's not that he couldn't hit for a decent average. He was almost never going to be on base at a high clip because he didn't walk. He had absolutely no slugging percentage.
That's right.
And yet you go into the 14 and 15 playoffs, and who is a damn menace at the top of the lineup, which makes no part of why those teams confound me is that Ned Yost won in spite of what you would consider to be smart baseball decisions with either the lineup or how they would do some things. And guys just stepped up and were great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was 14 or 15, but Alcides Escobar was like
he won an MVP of a series.
ALCS
I think
MVP?
it was ALCS MVP 14.
I want to say it was 14.
Or maybe 15.
You know,
because 15 was the year he was swinging at all the first pitches and being a menace to the Mets guys until Syndergaard threw one up above his head.
He hit 476, 481 on base percentage, which again, 476 average, 480. So he had one walk.
Incredible.
And slugged.
Yeah.
652.
Incredible.
In the ALCS against Toronto in 2015.
So that he was with 15 ALCS MVP.
But even in 14, like he slugged 414 in the World Series. In a regular season, he never slugged that. Like, this is a guy that met the moment every single time for those 2 years for the Royals.
I'm enjoying this conversation.
You would never, I know, this is why Joey needs to clip it because it's never happening again. If you were to make a list of guys that, you know, you would expect to be big contributors offensively, he's probably fifth on that list.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he's not Hosmer and Kane and
he's
Moustakas
barely even on
Gordon.
the list. Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just confounding.
Yeah.
But those are the sorts of things that happen in a postseason play with baseball. And Nebraska has not gotten that almost ever.
They
very rarely get their studs, their Ryan Bolts, their Scott Schreibers, their Bryce Matthews, their, you know, those guys. Very rarely do they get them to do something on that level.
Yeah.
This happens way more for Nebraska in Omaha at the Big Ten tournament than it ever does in the regional, which maybe says something about the talent and what you're playing and everything else. But at some point, and again, you go through these other teams. Ole Miss got it through several guys. Arizona State got it through several guys. Their studs were studs.
It's just the nature of postseason baseball, right? Yeah. I mean, you just like we do this whole thing where it's like, oh well, Bryce Harper can't get a hit in the World Series or whatever it is. Is he a joke?
Yeah.
I mean, like, no, this is just how baseball works. When you pull it down to the smallest sample size you can get,
right?
We're talking about a 56 game season that comes down to 2 in a weekend, or we're talking about a 162 game season, which comes down to literally 1, like a lot. You know, you can't. Aaron Judge can't hit a home run every time,
right?
Right? Like Bryce Harper can't hit a home run every time.
Famously, not a great player in October. Aaron Judge.
He's kind of getting better lately, but
you know who you won 162 games when you have the opportunity in the regular season? Aaron Judge.
Yeah, big time.
So it's just one of those where Nebraska it hasn't had enough of those guys that have had those kind of moments.
It's not Giancarlo's fault.
Thank you,
Bob.
The Royals have lost to 16 out of 19, by the way. So we are a long way from 20.
We got some happy Royals talk in before you had to let us know where they were at.
We should queue up Jake again, call him up, and see what his thoughts are.
I got that in person on Saturday night.
He cannot be happy.
Schaefer, I needed this. The Royals are terrible.
I needed this. He's in the best year of his life with Nebraska.
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about Nebraska baseball.
Unbelievable. So
summer is canceled.
That's just the way it goes sometimes, and they didn't get enough of that. That's for sure. All right. Thanks for the email, Joel. Appreciate it. Trae Taylor. We're talking about Trae Taylor again, folks. That's right. Get the TikTok camera out again. Here we go.
We need a segment.
It's
We
time
need
to
a
get
segment where
aggregated.
we try to do our best TikTok takes. Which is a segment called TikTok takes. We each have like 3 of them. And that way, you know, when we eventually
3 TikTok takes a day? I could never.
we don't have to do it every day. It could
3 TikTok takes a
It
week.
could be on Wednesday where we don't have a carve out segment like this yet. And our whole goal is to have it clipped out and put online.
Damn it. It's so good.
It is good.
But what if it actually works? What if they do aggregate us? I don't want that.
That just proves our point.
I've long said that I could be the worst guy on YouTube if I wanted to.
I think we kick this around tonight and we potentially debut this week. TikTok takes on Wednesday.
Okay, let me write it down so we don't.
We do need a Wednesday segment.
TikTok takes Wednesday. All right. That sucks, but I think it's beautiful, actually.
I think you'll come around on this quite a bit.
I think I could come up with.
You
a
get
good
to
open for
lean
this.
into the bit. You love leaning and you love bit.
I do. I know it's really the perfect segment for me.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
That's why you're so uncomfortable with it.
I know. It's
You
too,
know
it's,
that you can
you
unleash.
gotta find a way to make money off this. It's just too good.
You can unleash the worst part of yourself, and you know it. You know it, and that's why you're uneasy about it. Anyway,
You're saying all correct things. Trae Taylor. All right, TikTok camera's on. Trae Taylor is the best quarterback in the country in 2027, or at least he has a rightful claim
he's
to
got a
it
claim to it.
at this point as the Elite 11 Finals MVP. A person that most pundits who were in attendance said, yeah, it was pretty far and away. Trae Taylor was the best guy here, and he was that way basically for the entirety of the weekend. Honestly, it's Monday. It's 8:12 a.m. I'm surprised he's not a 5-star yet. He's going to be probably within the next 6 hours.
I bet it takes longer than 6 hours.
You would know better than me.
They got to hem and haw, and then they have to have the whole release of their rankings.
When did they do? When's the next ranking come out?
24/7 Sports. It was the 3rd Wednesday of the month, usually. Every other month.
A
So it was
tradition unlike any other.
And then occasionally,
Oh, Michael!
look at this guy. Does he want to jump on to talk
Wonderful.
about Trae Taylor?
Michael brought cupcakes.
Happy 100th and happy birthday.
Oh my God!
Thank
look
you,
at
Michael.
that.
Michael is such a festive and
What a nice
celebratory
man.
man. It's
Wow.
incredible. That's your podcast co-host.
No, recently.
He wasn't even wearing his Saints jersey.
Yeah. Well, he saves that for the podcast.
That's true. This looks good. Vanilla. What did you get, Joey?
I got triple chocolate.
Yeah, I want one of the triple chocolate.
I'm gonna take the vanilla.
Well, I don't
ones
know.
on
Maybe they're all
myself.
Joey's. I don't know. It's his birthday. He
Michael
gets-
gave- He threw these at me.
This is a celebration for all of us.
So Michael knows me well. He knows that I probably wouldn't care much for the triple chocolate, and so he
Oh.
gave me the whitest ones, the vanilla bean ones.
One of Michael's current TikTok takes is that our station is very, very.
It
white
is.
right
He's right. If the TikTok camera is still on, you can get a screenshot of this. Me with the vanilla bean cupcake.
There we go.
Um,
Which is whiter, the
it's-
frosting or
That's a
Happer?
great question. Anyway, Trae Taylor's really good, and he was the best quarterback all weekend at the Elite 11.
Yeah, and I mean, when you usually have a consensus from the services, that's tells you that it was pretty obvious. Does the Elite 11 not do their own MVP final thing anymore?
I didn't see it.
Yeah, I was looking for one and I never saw it from them. I know Rivals announced him as their MVP. 24/7 Sports, he was a co-MVP with the guy from Israel Abrams,
Okay.
who's a current 5-star quarterback that's from the same area. They're both from the Chicago area. I'm gonna say. So yeah, I'd be genuinely shocked if Trae Taylor isn't a 5-star consensus wise here over the next month or so whenever they update their rankings. But he went out and he performed really well, and he performed at a level that I sort of was expected. Like, you had guys talking about like, hey, we kind of think like this event is built for him and whatever else. Part of it is he's incredibly polished. He has been going through high school quarterback finishing school for 3 years. And I don't even mean that really as a joke. Like, he has really went out and worked at this in a way that, he's made it his goal, his ambition, and he's knocked down a lot of things that he's wanted to do.
I think the decision that he made several weeks ago after the TikTok cameras were on about being off social media will serve him very, very well over the next 6 months on this roller coaster ride that you're
Yeah.
not buckled in on. I don't think people are truly ready for this because Nebraska, this is very, very different from when they had Dylan Raiola.
Right.
Because they never really had Dylan Raiola.
They got him at the end.
They got him at the very end, and it was under the radar, and it was just like committed, signed, bang, it's over. And Nebraska now has to play defense on a 5-star number 1 quarterback, potentially like a top. I don't know what the rankings are going to be. Maybe it's top. See,
20. I think he'll be a top 20 player.
I was going to say 15, 20 in the country.
I don't think he'll be top 10.
By the time this is all said and done, he's going to be that type of guy. And Nebraska has had him committed for a while now. And
like
there's
May 1st of last year.
And there's 6 months until signing day. And they're going to have to play defense the entire time. And then this will just be going on in the background.
And Tim would be a much better person to ask this question to. I don't think there's a reason to worry from now until when the season starts for Nebraska football. If there's a reason to worry, it would be that Nebraska football has a terrible season. And I mean, like, it has to be. They would maybe have to lose one of the first 3 games to qualify for this. Like, even if they go 6-6 and it doesn't look great, I still expect Trae Taylor ends up signing with Nebraska. He's that committed to this whole thing. And the family is too. Like, that's the other, this isn't like a, I don't even know what situation to compare it to. It's just sort of unique. Like, they're all in on Nebraska in a way that very few commitments usually are. And so I don't look for him to necessarily go anywhere. Where I think the conversation will get really fascinating is should 5 for 5 happen, and then you have the Calandria conversation, but you also have the lure of trying to take another freshman quarterback.
Oh God,
Nebraska
please no.
should not.
Please no. Please, dear God, no. He could sit for a year, okay?
I agree. Look,
everyone could sit for a year.
I agree.
If,
and we can put
if
it on
Arch
our
Manning could sit for a year, he could sit for a year.
We can put it on our proclamations page or whatever. But there will definitely be a, hey, wouldn't it be better for Nebraska to just get the ball rolling with this guy conversation
in
the spring of 27?
How are you going to put him in for the 4 games?
Now,
what are you gonna, and then, hey, there's no, like, I think the 5 for 5 is going to happen.
Yeah. Now, assuming you get Calandria for a second year, if that looks good, that makes the conversation go away a lot easier. But if he's so and Nebraska goes 6-6 and you have everything else,
he probably just leaves. That'd be my guess. And not Taylor, Calandria.
Which then you're like, okay, we have Daniel Kalen and TJ Lateef
and freshman Trae Taylor. And then in that case, you have an answer.
Oh, you have yet another spring where it's like, oh, well, what's going to happen here? I think I know.
I think I have an idea. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to be really fascinating. I thought it was great. You know, you read through, and I don't know how much you looked into it, but if you read through some of it, I mean, a lot of it was he excelled at everything, but really showed off when the difficulty went up. When they put more of a pressure situation, or the throw has to be exactly here, or you're giving them NFL level concepts on layering or these things, he mastered it.
I am super interested to see just how he turns out from a body perspective too.
He's gotten bigger.
He's starting to fill out a little bit just from the videos I've seen.
Noticed that.
I'm curious to see where it lands, because he's really long and
he's
wiry. Yeah.
And I think that has started to fill in a little bit for him.
Yeah.
And I know, one of the things that he's been putting a ton of time into is just the weight room, just in general, to fill the body out. So,
but he could throw it, and you just know when it kind of comes out of a guy's hit, like you could just see it. He's got it.
You like the phrase NFL velocity.
Yeah, it's very, very natural for him.
An evaluation standpoint. So
I think it's about as natural for him throwing a football as it is Dylan. And that is a compliment to both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dylan was always really good at that part of it.
And the big thing, if you're Nebraska, is you're going into this month right now where you've got Albert Simeon coming into campus this weekend, and you've got, Tim will run through all of these different people. You've got a couple 4-star wide receivers that are looking at Nebraska, and it's like, all right, well, hey, you didn't get Ahmad Hudson, so you're sharing that wealth and that money that would have went to him elsewhere. Trae still needs to find his top target, and whether you're Matthew Gregory or Khalil Taylor or some of these guys Nebraska's looking at, that's a much more appealing thing when you look at who the quarterback is.
Coach Trae Taylor, who's working in the recruiting department for the entire year. Also, how about Millard South back-to-back years having a quarterback who ends up at Alabama and now a probably 5-star Elite 11 winner?
How about just the Omaha area in general, which will have 2 Elite 11 quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Braylon Warren
Yep.
was several places surprise of the weekend with how he performed
No kidding.
as well. So shout out to Braylon Warren, the Omaha West Side
A Monday shout-out.
quarterback.
Nice
Yeah.
job. A couple quotes here. Sipple and Sean Callahan from Husker Online went out there to the Elite 11 finals. Here is J.R. Taylor from Steve Sipple. That is Trae Taylor's father. Quote, "We just moved into his apartment in Lincoln on Thursday." There was, so that's a good thing, I suppose. John Bishop, handshake meme, Trae Taylor commuting to Omaha.
Wow. Incredible.
Could you believe that? And he says he drives that distance right now to his high school in Illinois.
Yeah, that was one of the big conversations.
It's a 2-lane highway. There's many people who commute, by the way. Many people.
Commuting is a thing of life.
I commuted from.
You want to live somewhere, but your job says, hey, I need you to work here. You just have to make it happen.
There was a
I
quote.
commute currently from the great community of Bennington.
That is quite a commute, actually. It really is. So as far as the other schools still knocking on the door, and they will continue to call Trae Taylor, especially over the next 6 months, and there will be twists and turns and things like that. Here's a couple quotes from JR, his dad. As far as the visiting coaches, quote, "You have to do it, and it's not because you're looking around." Trae said it himself. "Someone has to come take me from Nebraska. You'd really have to do a lot to get me out of here." The reason I bring that up, JR says, is because just because he decides to have a conversation with these coaches who call and come see him, it doesn't mean he's looking to leave. It means that he has to be able to pick up the phone if he needs to and says, "Hey, I've got to take a different route." So he's just covering all of his bases,
Yep.
which honestly, I like when he said that a couple weeks ago about the whole, like, I'm not going to say no to these. If Ryan Day wants to come to my
Which
school and
stems
talk
from
to me,
the Illinois thing when
Yeah.
he threw the hat and,
Yeah.
the family was pretty unhappy
but
with that.
I love that move. Like, I absolutely respect the crap out of that. He's like, look, if Ryan Day wants to come over to my school and talk to me, if he wants to come all the way out here, then like, I'm not going to tell him to go home.
You're right.
I just like, I'm going to tell him that I'm committed to Nebraska.
But I'm not going to reciprocate by going out to Ohio State. Like,
I
that's
think-
not happening.
I think that is a very normal line to draw,
Sure.
to be honest with you, and pretty mature line to draw, if you're asking me. And he continues, "You can't do that if you say, 'Hey, I'm not talking to everybody.' The way football is nowadays, you can't afford to take that path. I think how he's handled it is perfect. I mean, I've sat in those meetings where he looks those coaches dead in the eye and says, 'I'm committed to Nebraska. I'm not making any other trips, but I'm going to pick up the phone if you call me, and if you text me, I'm going to respond.'"
Yeah.
That is from
Mature.
Trae Taylor's dad. We'll take a quick timeout. Speaking of, perfect guy to talk to on a Monday. Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska has the scoop on Trae Taylor and others on a big, big, big month for Nebraska football recruiting. We're back after this on 1620 The Zone. If you're starting a radio show, one thing that we've learned, I used to have Mike Schaefer on Mondays for recruiting talk, but we never really talked about recruiting. But have the recruiting guy on Monday because there's always stuff to talk about. And that is indeed the case today. Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska joins us now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. Good morning, Tim. What's up?
Morning. How we doing?
Good. You catching your breath from over the weekend with all we're setting up for a giant June and Trae Taylor and a little bit of everything. We're all over the place right now.
Yeah, a lot going on. We're getting into it this week. I've been kind of just bracing for. This is going to be probably the most eventful week of the year from a recruiting standpoint. So it's a lot happening.
Does Trae Taylor's I don't know how to put this so I don't get aggregated. Does Trae Taylor's commitment get more difficult to hold on to with his performance at the Elite 11 this weekend?
Not necessarily. It was always going to be. Look, schools are going to make a run at him. I don't think this changes how schools view him. But he was the favorite going in. Look, we made that very clear over at Inside Nebraska. I think the national evaluators had made that clear kind of going in as well that, hey, the front runners for this thing are, Trae's up there and in pretty much every conversation, as someone who could win this whole thing. And he had a strong performance. He's the front runner again to win the whole thing. They won't announce the official Elite 11 Elite 11 MVP until later in June. But I think Nebraska's got the work cut out from holding him regardless. But, certainly I would say, I would say for schools, there's a little more incentive to get in there now because they have something there, whether like something to go along with their eval of him, So I guess in that sense, you'll probably see more national programs take a swing, but ultimately he was always going to be, he's going to be someone that, there's going to be schools that are going to be trying to flip him pretty much up until he signs. There isn't really anything he can say or do to stop schools from talking to him at this point. He's that type of talent, and that's just kind of what that type of talent, that's what the recruitments look like.
So we were all familiar with the bromance between Ahmad Hudson and Trae Taylor that formed from the battle at the Boneyard and all of their time together with that, and it didn't work out to the point where he being Ahmad Hudson is an LSU commit. What is his relationship like with some of the top offensive guys that are coming in here in the month of June, guys like an Albert Simeon, or, even move it out to wide receiver where it's Khalil Taylor or Matthew Gregory, or if there's another recruit. We heard a lot about it with Hudson and some of those other guys. How about some of the ones that are the big expected visitors this month in June?
Yeah, so him and Simeon have a relationship, and the families honestly have gotten close. There've been some crossovers on visits. Simeon's visited Nebraska 4 times. He's going to be visit number 5 for him coming up this weekend. 5-star offensive lineman out of Louisiana. So the families are close. The two are close. So and they're expected to spend some time together this weekend. Taylor won't be OVing this weekend, but he's going to be around for every OV weekend here these next few weeks. So. Him and Simeon are close. That's one that obviously Nebraska's working on, that Taylor's working on, and that's something of a long shot, but they'll get their shot this weekend as they battle LSU, Notre Dame, and Texas A&M for the 5-star offensive lineman. Him and Khalil Taylor, the 4-star wide receiver out of Pine Richland High School up in Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, played together on the 7-on-7 tournament. So there's a familiarity there. And with Taylor, Khalil Taylor in this instance, he's down to really a handful of schools. I think Penn State's the biggest competition for Nebraska. Alabama offered recently going to get him at the end of June, or get the last OV from him at the end of June. I'd say those two are the biggest threats to Nebraska in that recruitment right now. But that being said, quarterback play is something that's really important to Taylor, and he was paying close attention this weekend, and he just saw Taylor kind of outduel both of Alabama's quarterback commits and Penn State's quarterback commits. So that's going to be something to watch. I do like where Nebraska stands and what they've done in that recruitment coming into June. I think the relationship with Trae Taylor here helps in the recruitment of Khalil Taylor. I also think the caliber of quarterback that Trae Taylor is, the fact that they have some established comfort throwing with each other, is going to help Nebraska here in these next few weeks. Matthew Gregory, I don't know how much of a relationship there is there. The two have visited together before, as in just, when Gregory was last on campus, Taylor was also on campus. And there has been at least some exchange of text, I believe. I know that. But I don't know the extent of the relationship in that one. I would say the relationships at receiver are more towards Khalil Taylor, and then Isaiah Alvarez, the 3-star wide receiver out of New Jersey. Trae Taylor is a big fan of his game. That's a receiver they'd like to add in the class, pretty much regardless of what happens with Matthew Gregory. And then Joey Hunter, the 3-star tight end who Nebraska's really kind of dialing up efforts on, who's going to be on campus for the first time this weekend for an OV. Hails from Loganville Grayson, the same high school as Jordan Agbanoma, Katie Jones, two Nebraska commits now in the 2027 cycle. Nebraska offered a few weeks ago, and they're really dialing up pursuit of the 6'6", 255-pound tight end. Trae Taylor has gotten involved in that recruitment as well. Hunter's going to visit this weekend. I have him on commit watch heading into the weekend.
Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska is with us. Tim, I'm curious. So from our perspective, or from my perspective anyway, Nebraska has gotten hot as far as recruiting is concerned, especially along the offensive line. There was a lot of time talked about Jeep Wade last week and sort of how he's approaching things along that. I wonder from you, do you believe in such a phenomenon of getting hot in recruiting, specifically at a particular position where it seemed like Nebraska was on a roll, over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so. The way some of this can work, I would say, is getting hot can often just be one school's dialing up the pressure, to fill up a position or just fill out the recruiting class. But some of it can be, like what Nebraska just had, where you heat up at a specific position of, it really is just like, okay, you get one going, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of it's what incites, or not incites, but I would say it's like a match that starts a fire, I would say, for everybody else. And for Nebraska in this case, it was Nebraska getting over the top and kind of pushing their chips in the middle for Jordan Agbanoma, kind of set off a chain of events that, they had just offered Katie Jones. Jones had just visited, and Jones was planning, to make a decision right towards the end of May, early June, potentially right, it was going to be right before or right after his Nebraska OV. And then he pulled up that decision just a couple weeks early to commit right after Jordan Agbanoma did. And then after that, Timmy Aliu, who was already considering an early decision, kind of just decided, what, I don't know what I'm waiting on. I want to be at Nebraska. Why am I waiting till my OV? Let me just join up with my guys from Georgia. All three of those guys from the state of Georgia. So he announced his commitment, less than a week later. And so now you've got all of those guys, all three of those guys, now planning to OV together this coming weekend to try and do their part to help with Simeon. That's how this starts. That's how this happens. Is it usually takes one, and then all of a sudden, all these guys start working together. I mean, I saw it when I was covering Texas A&M. I saw it in the putting together of that number one overall class. It kind of in retrospect, I saw the back end of that class. It was like that then too, of just, and that's how it kind of is on the trail. Is you get these, especially when, like what Nebraska did, when you work in, they were in Georgia heavy along the offensive line this cycle. And when you kind of pursue guys that are familiar with each other, that have visited together, and you let them know along the way of, hey, we want you to play, like we want you, Jordan Agbanoma, to play with Timmy Aliu, or vice versa. Hey, we want you, Timmy Aliu, to play with Jordan Agbanoma. And when you get those type of messages out, when those guys visit together, and you build that type of trust over a recruitment, once you get one of those guys to commit, you can really start to, kind of build out from there. And so Nebraska has a chance to do that at a couple other positions. I think cornerback or defensive back in general is going to be one. I think DB Generals one. I think defensive line has a chance to be one, depending on how things go here the next few weeks. I wouldn't get my hopes too high there though. And then receivers, another one, like we just talked about. I mean, Nebraska's got they've got 2 to 3 spots at receiver remaining. They've got 3 receivers set to visit here in the next few weeks. And again, I think with those guys, it's going to kind of be a matter of time. 2 of those guys are visiting together. The other one visits a week after the rest. And so I think they have a chance to just get hot there. But I would say this is something I would keep an eye on with Jeep Wade. He likes recruiting teammates. We saw that kind of when he took over the job and when he started extending some offers. I mean, when he was at Tech, he was recruiting multiple offensive linemen from IMG Academy, multiple offensive linemen from Gainesville, Georgia. It's something he likes. I wouldn't say it's something he needs or requires or anything, but it's something he likes. And so this is something that, and it's natural. It allows you to kind of pick up some momentum because you end up picking up multiple commits when you make a run at once.
Yep. Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. All right, Tim, always appreciate it. Busy month ahead. We look forward to your coverage and your insights all the time. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Check out he's got the visits weekend kind of lined up on InsideNebraska.com right now. Just check out the website over there. All right, we'll take a quick timeout here. Actually, you know what? Let's give away something. That's right. Much to Joey's pleasure. He's like, wow, he remembered. I can't believe he remembered. Would you like $50 to 72 Table and Tap?
Yes.
Well, you are ineligible.
Okay.
But if you are listening to this program right now and you're not one of the 3 people in this room, you are likely eligible. So give us a call, 402-951-1620 right now on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. And you could be caller number 4. And if you are caller number 4, you're going home with $50 to 72 Table and Tap. It's our zone deal this week. Once again, caller number 4, 402-951-1620. Joey will get you hooked up, and we'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. Well, you want to talk Monday shout outs? I got a Monday shout out for you. First of all, shout out to our friends over at Scut Baseball for sending this our way and making us aware of this. The Gatorade Player of the Year has been announced in the state of Nebraska, and it goes to Scut's Bubba Day, Gatorade Player of the Year in baseball. Nice job. Bubba has also maintained a 3.65 weighted GPA in the classroom on top of being the best baseball player in the state. And he is committed to Florida State.
Whoa.
Hopefully they don't lose to St. John's today. It'd be
Welcome
a shame
to
if
the
that
Big
happened.
East.
Welcome to the Big. They need Bubba to make sure they don't lose to another Big East team at some point down the line.
Potential for 2 games today.
I know. I'm very much looking forward to. It's going to be very tense because St. John's is officially out of pitchers.
I assume much of your day is basically you're just going to get home when you leave from here and just have squeeze play and or whatever version of ESPN Plus or whatever.
Same thing I've been doing all weekend, baby. Same thing I've been doing.
Monday. I wish the charity golf needed to be on a different day.
I was thinking about at some point this weekend sneaking out to take a bike ride, and I never got around to it.
I didn't know you had a bike.
Well, I have a bike, and I also have a lake near me,
Yeah,
and
you
I
do.
really want to use the lake and the bike. Obviously,
You can stop by my house.
I could. We're
right
both
by the
just
lake.
basically connected by the lake.
Just right around your little dirt pond in the front yard, Connor. You still have that? I guess probably not with the sun we've been having the last few days.
It rained quite a lot last night, Joey.
No, that's true. I did not
And-
hear the rain.
Because my boy was passed out. He was passed out. He was out. It was
No, that was on Saturday.
That was on Saturday.
Oh, okay. Well, it was big.
I went to-
There was some
I
thunder.
went-
I went to
sleep.
bed. I went to bed early.
We had
last
some
night.
thunder and lightning last night. It was a little booming, but we had some storms over the weekend. Speaking of
Storms.
I
Booming.
couldn't quite get there. Yeah, maybe. Do we need to have a conversation about when umpires should toss people in baseball games?
We can specifically have a conversation about why the guy from Arizona State was tossed.
Let's take a look. Here is Harry Bonds, who struck out against Nebraska in an elimination game yesterday, and the ejection that followed.
To Hairston. Called strike 3, and a bat goes way up in the air. And that was a display that can get you run out of a game.
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked that it didn't.
And they're going to have a
Right
meeting,
there.
the umpires.
That one, that's a no-no.
Let's talk about it. Get them together, Billy. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the end here.
I think it's pretty understandable right here. I mean,
Look at
just
that.
like
After crew consultation, the hitter is ejected for unsportsmanlike.
Oh, pretty good. Pretty good.
Even better when they come back from commercial and they have to frog march him out of the left field.
Well, I
gate.
knew that was coming. I knew it because that's the only way to do it
Right.
at Haymarket Park. And they were, I think part of the objection from Willie Bloomquist was like, how are we going to get this guy out of here? Like after he realized he wasn't going to win the argument,
He knew he wasn't going to win.
he knew he wasn't, but he was like, all right, do we squeeze him through here? Can he go up this way? Like, how do
Can we
we,
just hide him in our dugout
Yeah.
if he promises to be quiet?
because he tried to stay.
Yeah.
He tried to
And
stay.
then the NCAA official came over and she's like, you.
So where do you stand on this? I think he should have been tossed pretty much instantaneous.
Yeah, I don't have.
Yeah.
So, like, I have a pretty liberal birth in terms of celebrating and things in that regard. Like, you hit a home run.
Yep.
You can toss your bat. You can celebrate, whatever. If you strike out and throw your bat 75 feet in the air out of frustration,
Yeah.
probably muttered something else.
You got to go.
I have absolutely no problem
Yeah.
with the umpire using his discretion that you don't get to stay in the baseball game.
Yeah, he got to go.
I have probably more of an issue of I don't like that it runs over into the next game in the same way that I don't like targeting
Me
costing
too.
you
Me
the
too.
next game. Those are things I don't care for. But absolutely no problem with that guy getting ejected last night.
I think some of it was he was frustrated because he had a bad weekend, but yeah, you can't toss your bat up into the sky. All right,
I mean, was it a borderline high strike? Like maybe it wasn't.
Oh, it was bad. I think it was a bad call.
Yeah.
But like you can't do that.
Whatever. You can't react that way, and he knows that too.
I have a second exhibit to show you. This is from the Athens regional from over the weekend. Trae Phelps got into this ball.
For Harrington. Bye-bye. Home run. Trae Phelps gives Georgia the lead.
And then he got tossed.
It's a little harder for me, though. That was a lot. Like, that was excessive from the beginning.
If you didn't see that, if you're listening on the radio, you're like, what in the world just happened? First of all, electric environment down there in Athens after that home run. But yeah, some excessive chatter directed directly at the Liberty dugout or the Liberty players around the infield. And Trae Phelps is like one of the most fun players in the country.
Sure.
Like that's just his game. But he got after it a bit on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know about the ejection there.
Right.
I think actually in both cases, you could probably make a good case for just let's slow down and warn everybody here. But in both cases, it was an ejection.
Yeah, I have probably more of an issue with the second ejection, or I don't know which one actually occurred first on Sunday, but I have more probably one with the Trae Phelps one. But again, I don't know what he said to the players. Like that's the other part of this too. There's something that Harrison
there was just a lot of gesturing.
Landon Harrison very easily could have said some things on his way back to the dugout.
Now, I will mention this. Will Bolt was giving it to Angel Campos.
Yeah.
A lot of Fs.
So
a lot of Fs.
What happened on Sunday where the camera cuts to Will Bolt and he says a word that starts with F that I will not be repeating here.
It was during the Harrison
Well,
thing.
Campos wasn't the home plate ump for that. So I don't know what was happening with Will Bolt and the officials on Sunday, but he was peeved.
He was.
And then my brother-in-law told me that there was a moment where Arizona State hit a home run, and then the umpire is like looking into the dugout, and Bolt is like, "Hey, the game's out there." Yeah. So I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, he was not friends with that crew this weekend, it seemed. All right, we'll take a break. 9 o'clock hour coming up. We have plenty to come still. Michael Bruntz will join us at 9:15. We're back after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back. 9 o'clock hour. Happer and Schaefer rolls on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com. Us here at 1620 The Zone and Arby's. We're a team now. Us and Arby's. We're teaming up for the Summer Sizzle giveaway. You could enter to win, and you could score a combo meal every week all summer long. 13 weeks of hot, delicious wins. No cooking, no stressing, just sizzling bites on us. And Arby's, enter now at 1620thezone.com and make this a very, very tasty summer. Brought to you by Arby's. Joel writes in on the Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed. He said, I think I was about to get kicked out of the crowd when the bat flip happened. A couple guys in NCAA polos stood behind me for the next couple of innings. We need adult language sections. So it got pretty hot in there, a couple different moments. Most notably, I think we need 10 minutes to stretch out on this. The 6th inning in I guess it would be game 4 of the regional Nebraska's second game against Ole Miss. Rattlesnake Ron, by the way, writes in. He says, I apologize if you already went over this, but can we talk about pitchers coming on and off the mound with their earpiece not working properly? It is similar to an escalator never breaking. They just become stairs. If the earpiece stops working, you just go back to calling pitches with your catcher the way it was done for over 100 years. So, I mean, let's be dead honest about this, guys. His earpiece was fine.
You just couldn't hear.
We have put in an out, an escape hatch for pitchers in an exact situation like that. Now, the rub here, I guess, is this. I think it was about to be a pitch clock violation on Jeske. He
was late getting into the box.
Yeah. So there was no it may have all been called off due to a lack of engagement in any way. But then, the pitcher signals up to he's like, I got an earpiece problem. And then he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like 6 times. Then there's the catcher, which I got to be honest with you. I love the move after the earpiece thing doesn't work out like 4 times. I absolutely love the move of the catcher walking out there and just talking to him for a second.
That guy had a good weekend.
that was a pro move of all pro moves. Yeah. And so Ole Miss is basically doing the baseball equivalent of just trolling at this point. That's what they were doing. But let's not get it twisted. His earpiece was fine.
Yeah, no,
it was fine.
He just couldn't hear because that environment, it got really loud. The Nebraska fan base, that atmosphere was awesome. Buck hits that home run, just euphoria out there. And then you just never got that next moment. There just wasn't another. There was some big strikeouts from Horn, who we talked about earlier. Ty Horn was. We basically got Big Ten tournament championship game version of Ty Horn, where he just went out and he shoved.
Yep.
And it ran into some problems in the 6th inning. Again, I didn't have a great vantage point of it. I haven't went and watched it. I don't know how catchable it was. I heard that maybe there could have been a nice play made out in right center, and you could have avoided some of that. Nebraska just had their opportunities. You have the bases loaded with Jet Buck up, who hit the home run earlier in the game. All you need there is a sac fly, and then it's a 1-run game again.
Yep.
Let alone if you're able to touch the outfield grass, you can score 2 runs and tie it up or whatever else. So it's just it felt like it was all set up for Nebraska to be able to try to retake control of that game. And you have Jet Buck and you have Overbeek, and neither one of them were able to come through for you.
So here's the play-by-play for the 6th inning that really doomed Nebraska's weekend in the winner's bracket game against Ole Miss. They take a 1-0 lead into the top half of the 6th. They get an out on probably their best hitter in Utemark.
Mm-hmm.
Then single, strikeout. So single on an 0-2 count, by the way.
No, I think both of the hits that inning were, the hits that Horn gave up were on singles.
So you have a runner on first and 2 outs. Then they get a single to center, and the ball kind of squirted around a little bit out there. Furness goes to third. So runners in the corners, and then the double into right center field by Pano makes it 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Wild pitch.
Which I think was a 2-strike double as well for Pano.
No, 2-1.
2-1. Okay.
2-1. And then a wild pitch, then a walk on what was an 0-2 count for like the entirety of that bat, and then Horn lost him. Horn comes out of the game finally. One or two batters probably too late, but we talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't mind the move by Childress to keep him in.
It was the very first pitch of the very first batter.
Timmerman comes in, gives up a single right away, and then he gets the strikeout to end the inning. And then in Nebraska's half of the sixth, the bottom half of the sixth, they screw some things up as well.
Yep.
Where Worthley flies out to center, Carey gets a single. There's a pickoff challenge at first base,
which wasn't close.
No, I didn't think. I don't know.
It was one of those
was.
where it's like the first baseman was adamant, and then there's a great exchange between Carey and the first baseman where they're showing it on the replay, and you can see
it's like, bro, what are you doing?
And Carey just reaches and gives him like one of those "nice try, kid" pats on the back. And then they're laughing about it. Like he knows he's not going to get him out. We still have to wait for the umps to announce this, but that was great.
Sanderson singles.
Yep.
Jeske gets hit by a pitch. The bases are loaded. And then Jet Buck strikes out and over big
4-3. Yeah. Roll out to second base.
Yeah.
So.
Bases loaded, one out, had a chance to climb your way back in, and after sort of a disastrous sixth, and that's where the ball game was won and lost. And then the seventh, Ole Miss tacked on.
I would almost argue the seventh inning was worse because you gave up 2 runs on 5 walks. It was uncompetitive, poor pitching. Timmerman couldn't find the strike zone to start. You bring in Caleb Clark, who's then able to get you out of it, except you don't catch the pop-up, so you don't get out of there where it's just 3-1. Yep. Walk, 2 more runs.
That's where the wheels fell off. I mean, it's so I guess in the 6th, the wheels got wobbly, and in the 7th, they fell off.
And then to add insult to injury, another run comes in the 8th because of a cutoff throw.
Oh.
You know, not even a cutoff, play it at third, gets by 2 different people on a throw that was a good enough throw to get the guy out at the bag had Overbeek just made the catch in the tag at that point.
And then in the 8th, they get, as we mentioned earlier, they get the home run from Butin back, by the way, and then make it very, very interesting in the 9th inning,
as they tend to
do, and couldn't end up getting them. Grigo hit into the double play, and that sort of ended the rally a bit for Nebraska, even though they cooked it up again after the double play, just never dead, that team. But that was that's the breakdown, I guess, of the inning or the innings, the 9 outs that kind of doomed Nebraska, I suppose. But most notably, it came to a fever pitch in that top of the 6th inning, or in that bottom of the 6th inning, as Nebraska was rallying, and the pitch clock, or the pitch com thing happened. And I mean, it was loud.
Yeah.
I don't know how it sounded in the ballpark, but it was
electric.
It was significant.
Super, super loud. Like you could tell why the pitcher couldn't hear anything, because you couldn't hear anything.
That's right.
Like it was nuts. The environment was awesome. The crowd was awesome. I never heard what the number was for Saturday night.
Oh, let me check.
I don't know if that ever got announced. At least in the park, it never got displayed. I know Friday afternoon was 7,800. Was what they said on the broadcast. So
Friday night,
Saturday night.
So
the Ole Miss game.
The Ole Miss game was 78-35.
Really?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Wow. So they never got to 8,000 this week?
So they never got to 8,000.
That surprises me, because
me too. Yeah, I mean,
Saturday night was packed to the gills. There was no room anywhere on the berms. The standing room was pretty full in. Now maybe the weather scared some people off. I don't know, but I thought there looked, at least to my eye, a lot more people on Saturday than on Friday.
So Friday 78-28 and Saturday 78-35.
I don't think that's
7 more people.
I don't know. We'll ask Bruns.
That feels wrong.
In a little bit. I think there was a lot more people. You know who was constantly shown on television throughout this entire experience?
Yes.
Former Nebraska media member Matt Reynoldson, who I think is an Arizona media member.
I don't know.
I believe he's down there,
but I don't know if he covers Arizona State or not. But they cut to him.
He had a part-time job umpiring this weekend.
They cut to him like 20 times on Friday.
I know, and he was constantly visible in the
the shot.
in
yeah.
the shot.
But they love, and then they were cutting to him on Sunday, and I was like, does he know someone working at ESPN? Like, this is a ton of screen time
Maybe
for former Husker Online intern and Channel 8.
Yeah.
The Channel 8?
Yeah.
Matt Reynoldsson, who then went to Green Bay and covered Joey's Packers before going to Arizona, where I think he's down in Tucson.
He's in Phoenix.
And he had some tweets that angered a lot of people during the college basketball season, too. So,
what were they regarding?
I can't remember exactly. It was related to Arizona basketball and how they definitely were going to beat Michigan or something along those lines. Michigan people got a hold of it, and it became a whole thing.
Interesting. Didn't he do some tweets about Deion Sanders or something like that?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Black Cat writes in, was Joey laughed at for guessing like 7,800? Yes, actually, and we apologize. I
still don't believe it.
I'm still not sure about that number, but
did Joey write him down?
No, I didn't write them down. I didn't remember me saying. I did remember saying
you guessed low.
Because I was thinking of the South Dakota State game.
That's right.
I was thinking of the South Dakota State game, not the
it seemed, again, anecdotally, I guess I thought there was a lot less than 7 people.
7 more people.
Yeah.
7 more people on Saturday.
I'm often fascinated.
That can't be right.
I'm often fascinated with Nebraska football attendance, the last 3 numbers that fill it out. I don't believe at all in the accuracy of it.
Now, does that get thrown up? Does that number get altered at all by, the difficulty of having it played over 2 days? Like, I don't, is there anything with that?
I don't know.
But you would think that they would have the attendance number solidified in stone by the 9th inning.
First question for Bruns is: did it seem like there was only 7 more people on Saturday night?
And which 7 were they? I mean,
was it one of the Happer and Schaefer? No, the recruiting hour bits. One of the 7.
One of the 7 people.
7 listeners.
Maybe it was the 7 people who were listening to the recruiting hour at the time.
They were very loyal. We appreciated those 7.
We really do. Whatever happened to that Mike guy?
I think he's still in Hickman.
All right. Does he listen to this show?
I don't know. I don't know him personally. Though I did talk to him several times in person.
Yeah. So there's your 6th inning that doomed Nebraska in review. We will get to what's left to be decided on Monday of regional weekend, a bunch of game 7s and even a game 6 still to be played today. Well, let's take a break. Michael Bruns is our guest up on the other side, talking some baseball and more on 1620 The Zone.
Broncos country, let's ride.
The Bronx is back in town. The Bronx is back in town. I said the Bronx is back in town. The Bronx is back in town. The Bronx is back in town. Bronx is back in town. Bronx is back in town. Bronx is back in town.
Michael Brooks, Husker 24/7 on Happer and Schaefer, 1620 The Zone.
You know, we didn't have Michael on last week because it was Memorial Day. And so we didn't get a chance to ask, to celebrate one final time. Nebraska is hosting a regional. We didn't get to ask one more time, can Nebraska host a regional? But I suppose the question was misguided in the first place, Michael, because the question that we should have been asking was, can Nebraska win a regional? That is ultimately the more important thing. Hello, Bruds.
How's it going?
Good. By the way, do you think that there were only 7 more people at the Saturday game than there were at the Friday game?
I didn't even include the attendance in my game story from the continued game because it was like I saw that and I was like, "There's no way."
What happened?
I don't know if I asked and kind of got met with shoulder shrugs about what happened with the number because it was significantly more crowded in there on Saturday night than it was on Friday. I don't know if did a yellow shirt person wander off with the clicker on the way in?
They dropped their clicker?
Oh no!
I don't know what happened, but yeah, I saw that number and I was like, that doesn't.
Maybe they threw it up into the sky and they were ejected or something like that.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: they sold. I was told 8,200 tickets for Friday. And I would buy the number that they had for Friday.
Me too.
It was 78, I think was the number, 78 something.
78-28.
And what was it? 78-28?
Yeah.
78-28.
Yeah. And then, I mean, to have 7 more, I don't think there were as many unused tickets on Saturday as there were on Friday, with all due respect to South Dakota State.
So, Brunts, obviously Nebraska's season has now come to an end. What was your sort of big takeaway from a regional that you've covered several of these? You've attended several of these. They have largely gone the same way for Nebraska, which is about the 3-game number. And it did again here this weekend. Looked maybe a little bit different, but what's your biggest takeaway from the end of this season that featured Nebraska hosting a regional, but still bowing out before the regional final?
Yeah, I mean, I think big picture, you can look at hosting a regional as another marker of progress. I mean, I think to not, I think is just being dismissive of what took place. I mean, this was a team that was picked to finish 4th in the Big Ten by conference coaches. They finished 2nd. They won the midweek games, which have been, a bit of a bugaboo for this program in the past few years and have kept them from hosting regionals in the past. They got through that part of it. They won 23 games in conference play. They won over 40 this season again. And it's gotten to the point where I think the floor has been raised. And now, it's less kind of hoping you get into a regional and a little bit more of expecting that you're going to be in that conversation most years versus not. So, I think the question now becomes, well, how do you get out of regionals? How do you push it to Monday? How do you kind of make that next step as a competitive program when you're facing SEC schools that are better funded and actually have NIL and some actually have rev share that goes towards baseball. I mean, that's kind of the next question. And I think you saw, the regionals have always been this way, but it is a little bit of a test of your pitching depth. And I think that's one thing that Nebraska has to address, going into next year is how do you get a few more reliable, high leverage bullpen arms that you can trust? That was one thing that this year was kind of always in the background, but Nebraska had the offense to kind of overcome that stuff. You also got enough starts enough deep starts from guys like Carson Yassa that you were able to kind of cover that up a little bit. And I think that was even in the regional what they were going to have to do was you were going to have to get really deep starts from Horde and Yassa and hope that your offense could, kind of find its footing after taking a step back in the Big Ten tournament. So that's one thing. I mean, I think, offensively, I think Nebraska did do fairly well this year in kind of correcting the missteps of 2 seasons ago. But you need to find a little bit more of that pop that, when you need a big swing or you're in a tournament setting like this. I mean, you saw with Arizona State, when you have that kind of threat in your lineup, it really kind of changes everything. So, I do think it was a successful season. Like I said, I mean, I think when you kind of look at this roster and what they had and, the resources available, I think they absolutely maximized in about every way they possibly could. And now it's just, how do you make that next step as a program?
Bruns, as far as this weekend was concerned, Schaefer and I had talked about it throughout the majority of the show, and I think we felt it starting Friday. Did you sense the tightness from this group throughout the weekend? Even
strain?
Can you see it, Michael? Can you see the strain?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a little bit of that. I think it probably more showed up in defense.
Definitely.
This was a top 5 fielding team nationally, and it felt like there were a couple big mistakes that happened that really kind of changed the trajectory of those games, and those were not mistakes that Nebraska had made typically throughout the season. And that's kind of the razor thin margin, I think, once you get to this time of year is if you're not going to have the offense that's going to slug and get you into the double digits, you have to be really fine on the mound. You have to be really fine in the field, and Nebraska just made a couple plays or didn't make a couple plays that they've made with regularity this season. So is that tightness? I don't know. Maybe a little bit. I mean, I think the error, the drop fly ball or foul ball on Saturday night, that definitely didn't help things. And Dylan Carey's been about as reliable as a fielder as you could have all season. So I do wonder if the relief outings got a little bit tight too. Just based on the pressure, but they've also been a bullpen that's kind of struggled with walks this season. I mean, that's not anything new. So was it pressure? Was it just, kind of the same types of issues cropping up? I don't know, but I think that's probably the thing that was, maybe a little bit frustrating if you've been so good defensively all season, and then when you kind of get to crunch time, you make those types of errors that you just haven't made this season.
So there's a lot of guys that aren't going to be back because they're seniors and their time at Nebraska is over. And there's maybe a few guys that won't be back because they could end up drafted or go into the portal, whatever. Of the players you expect to return at Nebraska, like who a year from now are you excited to see what they are through the development track, how the summer goes for them, how they grow? Like what is or a player or two that you're kind of fired up about what the future looks like for them at Nebraska?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you saw from Jeter Worthley, I mean, I think there's a lot to like about what his future can be. I think there's also, a fair amount of growth that he can make. It's not often that you get freshman catchers catching significant amounts of innings, and certainly not to the level that he did this year. I think there is more power in his bat. I think there's improvements to be made defensively, behind the dish as well. And, I know that, when scouts and when, those types of guys have come through this year, he's been the one that they've been really impressed by in terms of what he can be in 2 or 3 years or 1 or 2 years, and I think that's a really positive thing. I mean, Jay Sean Unger,
yep.
He's currently set to go to the Cape this summer. He's actually a draft eligible sophomore. So I don't know what his immediate future looks like, but I mean, I think you have to be really excited with what he showed in the, as a closer, but also what he can be long-term potentially as a starter, because I think that's where he ultimately lands either next year or as a professional, is more in that kind of starting role. So, I think both of those guys you really have to like. It's going
Yasa's a draft guy, right?
Yeah, I was just going to get to him. It's an interesting summer because Yasa's a redshirt sophomore, so he's draft eligible this year. I would be very surprised if he's back. He's cropping up as like a potential top 5 round guy, and deservedly so. Ty Horn is draft eligible this year. You lose a lot of veterans at the plate. Guys that are seniors. Case Sanderson's going to be an interesting case study in kind of what happens with him and whether he's shown enough power potential to attract teams there too. So it's going to be a different looking team next year. I mean, I think, just based on who's out of eligibility, I think the likelihood that you see guys drafted, I mean, you're going to have to really kind of rebuild this roster again. And it's almost expected you're going to kind of turn over half your roster nowadays in college baseball. That's just kind of the way things work. But Nebraska is going to have to find some difference makers in the portal and hope that some of these JUCO guys that they're going to sign are ready to go.
There is, it's interesting because with those draft guys, you used to just have your hands tied behind your back, and to a certain extent you do, but there is some money at play. I do wonder what Nebraska is willing to sort of invest to be able to maintain, almost similar to the basketball conversation we were having at the end of the year. Like, can you retain with some increased, I don't know, expenditures inside of the program, whether that means from a rev share department or from an outside, capability. I wonder what that looks like, and if there's any sort of increase on that front this summer, given the season that they just had and the experience this past weekend at Haymarket Park.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, I know that, over the next couple of years, you're going to see a ramp up in scholarships. They're in the high teens this year. I expect that to be up in the mid 20s, and then you're eventually going to probably land at about 30, which isn't completely fully funded, but it's pretty darn close.
It's more than everybody in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I mean, that's, in the central time zone and East. But yeah, I mean, the thing is though, you're not going to go into the portal with scholarships and get guys that, are MLB top 5 round type guys. That's just not the way it works. So,
right.
Are you going to, actually start rev share with baseball, which they don't currently have? What's the appetite for increasing NIL? I don't know. I think Nebraska's done pretty well in terms of development, and you're seeing more guys, get drafted than they have in the past with more consistency, which, I mean, that's something that you can also sell to guys too, is like, look, these are the guys in the last few years that we've put into the high minors, guys in the majors right now. Max Anderson's right on the cusp of, getting called up as well. So, you can kind of sell all that stuff. I think Nebraska, at least from the administrative point of view, I think what they've kind of tended to do, they'll put money into, or are willing to put money into facilities finally, which I think is long overdue. Is there an NIL piece behind it? I don't know. I think there's still a bit of work to do there. And I mean, that's the thing you got to remember. I mean, the teams in the Lincoln Regional, for as good of a season Nebraska's had.
Oh yeah.
I really think they maximize the resources that they have relative to some of the SEC schools and schools in the Big 12.
Hey, so quickly, are the West Coast schools funding all? I mean, are they fully funded? I mean,
I bet Oregon is.
Whew.
Oregon, I think, is pretty close there.
Wow.
UCLA certainly has. There's more NIL opportunities, I think, there.
Sure.
Given than kind of what you're seeing Nebraska. I think there's a little bit more of a, the best way to put it, probably a more involved donor base in Los Angeles with baseball than maybe what you've seen so far in Lincoln. So that's something you got to, if you want to kind of be in that group, I mean, we'll see what Nebraska can do there. But I do think, I mean, when you talk about raising the bar in the Big Ten, I mean, Oregon, UCLA, I think USC is doing it as well. they're definitely kind of setting the pace there.
All right, Bruns. We will let you go. Appreciate it as always. Great stuff. Great coverage from over the weekend. And we'll try and get a hold of those extra 7 people that were in attendance on Saturday.
I should probably dig into that and see what the actual number was. That was pretty good. Thanks, guys.
See you, Bruns. That is Michael Bruns from Husker 24/7. John writes in on the text line. He says, if it was more crowded on Saturday than Friday, but there were only 7 more people on Saturday, maybe the fans on Saturday were just girthier.
Some girth. I was there. I brought some girth.
Now, I don't know what maybe this is on incumbent on Nebraska to release the actual like turnstile number here. Like, I would assume that's just a paid number.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's no way there was only 78-35 there. There just isn't.
Yeah.
Like, that place was packed. Absolutely packed.
Well, guess someone knows ball.
Yeah,
for
Joey
now,
knows ball.
for now,
For
Joey
now.
is correct until further information.
Who's laughing now?
This is what you do when you're wrong. You say, well, we'll just wait for further information to come out. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Like, that refrigerator might have been broken. We didn't know.
We may have acted too quickly in that regard. We're back after this with a preview of today on Regional Final Monday. After this on 1620 The Zone.
We oftentimes reference our dear friend Lanny Holstein, former member of the media around here. So did you read Evan Bland's recap of the game that never finished on Saturday night?
No, I didn't.
Well, I guess this is on Friday.
Yeah, I was gonna say I heard about Lanny making the news for his commentary.
Mississippi walked off Arizona State 7-6 in 14 innings in a 4-hour, 37-minute marathon that also featured a half-hour weather delay and 458 combined pitches. The outcome seemed secondary to the journey, at least as far as Nebraska was concerned, as the stalemate saw both sides use key relievers that could affect the host school in the coming days. Quote, "Free baseball," one gleeful Nebraska fan repeatedly shouted as the hours and the extra innings ticked by. That one fan repeatedly was Lanny Holstein, our dear friend.
He said Carl Ravage seemed a lot less excited than he did based on his vantage point of seeing Carl Ravage.
Oh, man. What a guy.
Terrific. I was so excited to catch up with him over the weekend.
Today in the regionals, ladies and gentlemen, this is a great day in college baseball. It starts at 11 o'clock. So we have a game 6 of a regional coming up today. Florida State and St. John's. Florida State will have to beat St. John's twice today in order to get to the second game. They have to do it at 11 o'clock first. FSU, there's a betting line on the CSPN page. It says Florida State is minus 410 to win this game.
Oh, wow.
That seems a little heavy. I mean, come on. Where's the respect for my guys?
I mean, Florida State hasn't played well at any point.
Yeah.
They've won multiple games.
They got no respect for Adam Agresti and Sean McMillan and John LeGrande. None of those guys. Unbelievable. They scored 21 runs on Northern Illinois. 21 runs.
Florida State only scored 7.
Georgia Tech and Oklahoma in a game 7 today. That is second national seed Georgia Tech, who was beat by Oklahoma last night. Georgia Tech minus 425, by the way, on that one. You want a big number? I got this one for you. 5 o'clock today on ESPNU. Auburn and Milwaukee in a winner-take-all regional final. Auburn minus 1450. That can't be. I mean, come on. Who in their right mind is doing this?
I want to know what the line was before Auburn gave up 10 straight runs to Milwaukee to start the game on Friday.
Have some respect for these boys.
Blitzkrieged that pitcher.
Absolutely. Now, if I had to take my guess would be St. John's finds a way to win 1 out of 2, and that Auburn will win this winner take.
Yeah, I think Auburn's going to win. Of the ones we've talked about so far, I would also take St. John's. So St. John's, Georgia Tech, Auburn.
And then we won't have the lingering conversation of, boy, if Nebraska just would have got out of their regional, they could have hosted a super because they would have been hosting Milwaukee to try and get to the College World Series.
What an opportunity.
I want there. I want a world where one Joey basketball just, Did you watch any innings of anything that happened this weekend?
I mean, I turned on the Arkansas-Nebraska softball game. They hit the 2-run home run.
So that wasn't even this weekend. That was Thursday night.
Yeah.
So Friday through Sunday, nothing.
I saw Nebraska coming back on Arizona State, so I turned to that game from the tennis channel, and then it said the final score 11-8. Arizona State.
Missed it.
I just loved it.
I know I missed it.
I just want to have the what an opportunity.
I want a world where Milwaukee is going to Oxford to play for
I do too.
To play for a chance to the CW. I would love a world where somehow Milwaukee's in the CW.
There is going to be a game where we might get mid-majors playing for a CWS appearance if Troy beats Florida today.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll continue on. Yeah, that's the next one. That starts at 5 as well. Troy in Florida in a winner-take-all regional final. Also at 5 o'clock, Kentucky and West Virginia.
That is going to be excellent. I wish that game was later somehow. I wanted that to be like the prime game.
Oh, we got some very, very interesting squeeze play opportunities today at about 7 o'clock. So get locked in for that.
We didn't get a chance to talk about it. Florida and Ryder played an absolutely bonkers game on Friday. Lamar and Texas A&M had a similar one. Like Friday afternoon was a great, or Friday early evening was incredible.
It was like the NCAA basketball tournament, just like all hours of every day just kept coming.
Everybody in the Schaefer household was forced down in the basement where all the multiple TVs were. We just kept telling Hudson to keep shooting baskets so we could keep watching the random baseball action.
Stay out there, Hudson. Do your thing. Don't bother me right now. And then we cap it off tonight with USC and Texas A&M in a winner-take-all regional final. So just to update you, we have 9 teams on to the Supers. Here they are. 9. You're going to love this. We have number 3 national seed Georgia. Nice job. As we predicted,
the safest
the
of the
team
top
that we
3,
were most sure about, yes, advanced to the Super. They will take on
never lost a game.
Mississippi State at home. They also never lost a game. Texas and Oregon is a Super that stays to form. Number 6 Texas and number 11 Oregon. Alabama advanced last night with a win over Oklahoma State. They will meet the winner of the Tallahassee Regional. Kansas advances out of their own regional, taking down Arkansas twice over the weekend. And they will get the winner of the Atlanta Regional between Georgia Tech and Oklahoma, which we talked about. North Carolina very calmly, coolly, and collectively advances through the Chapel Hill Regional. They will get the winner of Texas A&M USC. Ole Miss gets through Lincoln undefeated. And then the fun starts. Cal Poly will go on the road somewhere. Will it be Lexington, Kentucky, or Morgantown, West Virginia? Which would you rather go to, Mike Schaefer?
Definitely Morgantown.
They both sound pretty rough.
Morgantown, I think, has a reputation of being a great place to go visit for like a football weekend.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to live in Morgantown, but yeah, I think it'd be a good spot to go hang out for a couple days.
And then we'll have that Super, which will be fascinating. And then we have the Little Rock Super on the road. They will either go to Troy or Florida.
Rooting for Troy.
Yeah,
that will be
I'd
fun.
like to see Troy.
The Troy Little Rock, I wouldn't even know what to do with that. The Troy Little Rock Super.
There's probably some horrible bad blood between these programs.
Probably. They're probably regional rivals.
Some Alabama feud that we've never heard of.
Troy.
Yeah, Troy's in Alabama.
Troy.
Mobile, isn't it?
No, Troy's in Troy.
Troy, Alabama.
And Little Rock is in Arkansas. So Troy.
Yeah, I completely botched that entire thing. All the way around. Good job by me.
I just can't stop saying Troy now. I was going to say something about Troy. I don't.
Troy McClure?
Troy Tulowitzki. Yeah. Troy hosting a super regional. That's what I was thinking. Troy hosting a super regional would be wild.
Yes.
They're absolutely out of control. And that is the setup. So we're down to.
Did you ever fill out a bracket?
20s. Yeah, I did. But Michael's bracket.
You had to accept the invite. I figured that out right before the deadline.
No. Michael's bracket game is rigged.
How's it rigged?
It's rigged because I entered and it didn't count me.
Yeah, because you had to hit accept.
Oh, I hit it all. I hit accept. I was in it. It's Michael's bracket game.
Okay.
He tried to keep me out, and he succeeded in doing so. As
I
he
got
usually
one.
does. That's why he brought me cupcakes.
I got one super regional pairing correct. That will be all that I have gotten correct out of the 8.
So I should be able to go and pull my bracket.
Yeah, your bracket should be there.
So
I have 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think I had UCLA over Texas in the championship series, so I know it's already done.
Oh, we need to check the bracket sim of record and
Oh,
see how that one ended up over the weekend.
Can we save that somewhere?
I have a screenshot. The
Wonderful.
Omaha 8 was UCLA,
Dead.
Florida,
Could be dead.
Texas A&M,
Could be dead.
Auburn,
Could be dead.
Georgia Tech,
Could be dead.
Florida State,
Could be dead.
Texas
Not
alive,
dead.
Mississippi State alive.
Not dead.
The bracket sim of record remains alive, but I don't think it'll probably make it through today.
No.
1 death.
One death kills it.
5 impending.
That's not bad. It's not bad. All right. I will find my bracket and let you know if I can recover it. But Michael's rigged bracket challenge is obviously the problem here. That's going to do it for us today. Enjoy the day. If you miss anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. Crossover with Matt's coming up next.